Now broadcasting from the Next Gen Conservative Studio in sunny South Florida, bringing you the latest in politics, current events, and pop culture. This is the Whitfield Report with Sam Whitfield.
Well, good evening, folks, and welcome to the show. Unfortunately, I had to take Apex Gamer out back behind the woodshed last week, and it was time to put the old co-host out to pasture. Um,
People are gonna believe you. Be careful with that.
you know, well, yeah, this is the internet. Well, listen, um. Apex has a habit of resurrecting himself from the dead as
True, yeah.
part of the lore goes. But yeah, no. In all honesty, yeah, I think probably. Well, to be honest, I fell asleep because after dinner because we had turkey, which is
Oh
never
my
a good
god.
idea, and I I set my alarm on my phone, but I forgot it was on silent. So by the time I did see it, it was 10:15. So but luckily Akaba and I are here. I'm hoping Apex will pop into the chat. But anyway, Akba, how are you and how's your week been?
I am okay. My week has been pretty uneventful, probably more uneventful than it should be. Haven't done too much. Watched some stuff, just kind of chilled out, listened to music, done a little bit of work here and there, and played some games as is per usual.
Cool, cool. Yeah, and my week has been pretty uneventful other than just some family drama, but there's nothing you can really do about that.
Yeah,
Um,
shit happens.
so yeah, it is what it is, and you know, we're moving forward. So I'm always happy to talk to you, and
Of course, thank you.
even if IRL people are annoying, at least I have my internet friends and whatnot.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
um, anyway, so I don't know. Do we want to do video game news first, or I guess the reason I ask is because tonight's topic is going to be Gamergate and whether or not it's still relevant. And the reason why I want
I
to cover this,
go ahead.
I think Akaba might know why, but so Mr. Medicare, and I had no idea that this was even happening, but apparently he went on a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I think earlier this week called the Clifton Duncan podcast, which a lot
Yep.
of my normie friends actually saw, and this was actually their introduction to Mr. Medicare, and so they found out about Gamergate, and I actually found out more about Gamergate. Like I've had this kind of thing for the last couple of years of ever since I discovered Ralph in this realm of the internet, I've kind of been like, I've heard Gamergate, but what is it? And I think Apex tried to do a pretty good job of explaining it to me. A lot of people did, to be honest, but I think Jim, when he went on the stream, really did a good job of explaining it to me. So, and a lot of my IL friends, normie friends, enjoyed it
Mm-hmm.
too. So the one question that I got was, well, Sam, do you think Gamergate is still relevant in 2022? And I would say somewhat, but this
Mm-hmm.
is one of those things where I'm like, I feel like it's one of those questions that can't be answered by just one person because there is no definite answer. So I thought I'd ask you and Apex and maybe people in chat who are more familiar with this what your thoughts are. But since it does tie into video games somewhat, I thought I would I thought I would kind of give the options. Do we want to do games first, or save that for
We
after?
can wait to see if or when Apex kind of waddles on into chat, kind of strolls on in, because I want to hear his takes on the gaming news. I think that'd be kind of fun. So we can kind of just
Yeah,
ease on into Gamergate and roll around to I guess games journalism in the truest sense of the word,
yeah.
in
Which
form of news.
yeah, which to me, starting off. Well, first off, I think this interview was really good.
Hmm.
Usually we see Medicare in more of like a comedic, shit posting type of way, which is great, but it's also great to see Jim give like a straightforward interview type of interview too. And so I thought that was interesting. Um and then just how the whole thing started and how it became a scandal. Like it that's the part that kind of uh always amazes me is how video games of all things and games journalism started this whole political uh trend change. It's kind of you know it's kind of surreal almost in my
Well,
mind at least.
there's it is surreal when you look at it in a small frame of mind. Also, I think the volume might be low for chat. I have you maxed up on through one of my browsers. It's a little quiet, so might want to just double check that. Um, as for gamer, I did see the Jim interview. I thought it was I thought that episode was great. The host of that podcast is very good at what he does. He's very well spoken, very well articulated. It brings up a lot of interesting points and a different viewpoint of where he came in on the subject. As for Gamergate kind of being this thing, I think it was because it was video games that it was kind of what made things upsetting. Because I mean, even back in the 2010, at the turn of the 2010, people were starting to question more commonly media and news outlets, and we began to start to see, I mean, we had always seen like things that were just clickbait or just sensationalized for the sake of it. But when you started seeing that narrative of, at the time, was very leftist, very progressive, very SJW, as some would say,
Right.
and it was in many regards, a lot of it was over the fucking top, don't get me wrong. It when it happened to video games of all things, when gamers were being called in news articles, you guys are toxic and you're what's wrong with modern internet culture, and it's just a little bunch of boys, and just started very much deriding and talking down to a group of people for really no, and you started to see it here and there before Gamergate, and then once Gamergate kind of, yeah, it's, my brain's a little fuzzy on how the start is. Like, I know kind of what kicked everything off, but you certainly saw a much more concerted effort once there was lashing of complaints about this kind of fucking bullshit journalism. I think Medicare
Yeah.
had mentioned it in the podcast, like some chick being so traumatized from telling from some dude saying he was going to rape her while playing Gears of War on the Xbox 360, like completely asinine stuff. And I can think of games journalists who were new on sites, who just would write fucking schlock and their own opinion into, not their own opinion, but frame it in a way that was really, could be harmful to somebody. And I always think of I believe David Jahi, the guy who did Twisted Metal franchise and I think God of War. He had said something about like, oh, it's a girl, you can play a game, you can play with your girl, and if maybe you let her win, she'll suck your dick or something. Like, it was just that kind of era of jokes and humor and whatever. And
Right.
she was trying to say, oh, this famous game dev is saying you should use sleazy underhand tactics to take advantage of women sexually, and it was just complete bullshit. And him in particular, he didn't fucking care for it at all. No one fucking did, because it was this weird kind of sensitivity and thing that was not part of the gaming culture. I mean, I come from old gamer culture of, I mean, many fucking do. Let me make it that fucking clear. I am in no way special. I am a fucking every man who came up in that era.
Right.
But like I was on Xbox 360 during the Halo 2 days. I was on Xbox Live during the Halo 2 days, 360 during the 3 days. I there was a reason I didn't play much multiplayer, because man, those were some angry children. Point.
Yeah.
And you would hear, and that wasn't just on that. It was on the internet in general. It was a lot more of the Wild West. So you would just I mean, if you were affected, you grew tougher skin and you shrugged it off, and maybe that helped you in your real life too. Maybe if you were sensitive or something.
Yeah. Well, from my perspective, if I could just interject, because you and I kind of come from the same generation of gamers, where like I remember, like I even remember, at like certain points, like I would play I would play GoldenEye 64 with my friends, that like multiplayer was at a certain point, like multiplayer, and the younger audience, if they're listening, they won't understand this, but multiplayer, kids, used to be when you and your friends would go over to someone's house on a Friday night and play video games in the same room with each other. And if you looked at the other guy's controller, you would get punched in the gut or worse. Or
I never played with those people, thank God.
Yeah, people would start beating each other with controllers, or and like no one got hurt, but it was just kids being kids.
It was just rowdy, yeah.
It was rowdy, and then with and then when online play came and headsets came, it was a lot of us made your mom is gonna make me a sandwich and
shit. Yeah, of course. Yeah, like it was smack talk. It was early bants, but it wasn't funny. If it was funny, it would have been bants, but half the time it was smack talk.
Yeah, it was smack talk, and we would say horrendous shit, but then at the end of the match, it would be like, okay, Mike, see you at school on Monday or something like.
And that's if if you played with your friends and you weren't online,
Right.
I mean, God, even to this day, like I remember not that long ago, I was my friends and I were doing a LAN party, and we were doing Halo, and me and the other guy, there's only one other guy there who really was able to contest for. I mean, that dude plays FPSs nonstop, so of course he's the best one in the room, and he used to play Halo on like a semi-pro level, back in the day. So me going at him, like we are fucking just screaming at each other, just calling each other motherfuckers, just everything under the sun. Like it got heated, and afterwards we had a fucking beer and sat by a fucking bonfire,
Yeah,
like because
when
you're part of that social contract, when you're with people, like you either make sure it doesn't turn actually hostile, or you can just tell because of who that like it's just it's just in the mood. I don't normally do it. He does it a lot, so it ramped up me as like, oh no, motherfucker, we going at it. But yeah, I mean that's the thing too, is like it was the couch co-op days, because it wasn't even sometimes even multiplayer. Like it would just be like, okay, who can do this level of Crash Bandicoot the fastest or something like that, right? Or goddamn, a one-on-one fighting game. Like, that's fighting games is when shit got personal.
Oh yes. I certainly remember that. I remember back in the day with those fighting games, like there used to be a Rocky game that was made off of the Rocky franchise, and it was actually, for a boxing game, it was actually like really good back in the day. It was actually better than Fight Night and in some ways.
It
And
didn't
I
look the
remember,
best, but it played good. It was solid.
yeah, and I remember, and that was actually what got me into the Rocky movies, actually. And I
Oh
remember
no
that
shit.
my friends and I just used to play, that for hours, and just, there were some matches where, where like I would beat him or he would beat me, and like, our feelings, we went to talk for days, just depending on how heated it got, stuff like that. But one of the other things I remember, and I guess this is kind of like one of the things that, coming from my perspective, is I kind of always feel like gamers have been under attack, because I also remember as a kid, when Grand Theft Auto Vice City came out, and uh, that game was very controversial, and I shit you not, I remember my parents like coming home from like a PTA meeting and laughing, because I guess one of the teachers or someone at like the school board had like brought up this like article that someone had written about how like Grand Theft Auto was influencing the next generation of like school shooters or
Yeah.
something, and or just like, there was that whole thing of like, video games are going to make the next generation of school shooters, and like back in the day, everyone in games journalism kind of laughed it off,
Yeah.
right? As as everyone should have. But I mean, I guess kind of the thing that fascinates me is like, right, everyone in the gaming community, pretty much everyone used to kind of like, laugh all of this petty bullshit off. And then for whatever reason, once things got political, as they usually do,
Yeah.
gamers started to take themselves, or at least some of them started to take themselves more seriously, and it became a whole thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess, it's so anyway, it was just weird, because like, coming from kind of the old school, I was kind of like, wait, people are taking this shit seriously now? It was weird.
I
So,
mean, back then, like you would have ones who would it would be a cocktail of things. You could never say fully that Grand Theft Auto would make someone become a shooter, because in Grand Theft Auto,
right.
I think the thing they poked on, and to this day, I went to go look up the name of one fucking lawyer who ran against Rockstar, Jack something, I think. But I was looking for the guy, GTA banned guy politician, and there are still articles from last year about U.S. politicians trying to get violent video games banned. It's still something we're dealing with, and I didn't even know we're still dealing with it because it's 2022. But
Yeah.
the thing is like it was free form, but like you weren't. There was kind of like, yeah, there was a rampage missions in 3 and this and that, but you weren't playing a psychopathic murderer per se. In 3, you were playing Claude, and he was kind of silent, but he would do things for this, that. And there were things that were changed because of 9/11 and da da da. But certainly once by Vice City, you had this was he wasn't a mass murderer. He was a drug runner, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it was, I mean, GTA Vice City is, I mean, it's a satire of Miami Vice, it's a satire
Yeah.
of,
Of the 80s.
Scarface. Yeah, ultimately, it's a satire of the 1980s, which is, anyone who knows me knows that
It's so fucking
as far
good.
as pop culture goes, that is my favorite decade in pop culture, and
It's
Apex
a good
mocks
decade.
me for it, but I
Fuck that
kid you not.
motherfucker. The neon drenching, the fucking pastel. Ah, fuck no. I know the 80s wasn't all just Miami, but in my brain, all the 80s was across the world was just Miami. And that's a great world, I think.
Yeah, amen to that. Thank you. Well, and we also have,
Minus the cocaine. Minus the cocaine.
we also had Harrison Ford in his prime, and
Yeah, we
with like
did.
with Blade Runner and
I mean,
a
just
whole
pop culture in general. Yeah, like when you actually stop to think outside of the aesthetic of the '80s. Oh yeah, no, fuck Apex. The '80s is
yeah.
cool. I wasn't even there in the '80s, but like retrospectively and shit.
Not neither was I, but like that I always go, there's always that question, if you could travel back to any, period in time, when would you travel? And I always go without hesitation the 80s. I mean, even just to see some of, the bands that I love in
Oh
their
yeah,
prime,
yeah,
that alone would have been
fantastic.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
yeah, so
But onto the topic, so the thing is like, okay, GTA is sandbox, so you can do whatever. And I think it's
yeah,
like there were games like, I don't think there was black and white, but there were certainly like games where you could cause death and mayhem, like Command and Conquer and things like that. And Driver 3 was actually a game that was GTA before GTA was GTA 3. Driver
yeah,
didn't hit any controversy. I think it was a lot more simple because it was PS1, but what it is, it also just it that kind of shit ties into just US politics in general as well. Um
yeah,
and so it's absurd to say that it creates it can facilitate, but there's more foundational problems of what that does. And I mean, that was the thing too, is that it was revolutionary at the time because there was no other game like that.
right,
So it
yeah,
was
and
it was a new hotness. It blew up. It was popular with the kids, even though it was for adults, which kind of dismisses a lot of any blame on the artwork of the game and kind of puts blame on the parents for buying that for their children. But they don't like to, that doesn't fit the narrative right. Let's
right,
not blame the
yeah,
parents and bad parenting and letting them play mature adult video games. Like, here, I'll tell you a perfect fucking story, right? It was Christmas of like 2003, I think, or 2002, and I had wanted a PlayStation 2, right? They'd been out a little
yeah,
bit. And I had gotten Kingdom Hearts first. I was like, oh, cool. I don't have a game, PlayStation 2 for it, but that's cool. Okay. And then I got the PlayStation 2. And then there was another game
right.
I got. It was Kingdom Hearts. And guess what the other game was?
Grand Theft Auto.
Grand Theft Auto 3. So I played Kingdom Hearts first because that's what I really wanted. And then I went to go play GTA 3. Now, my fucking child PlayStation brain thought, oh man, I can hop on the cars and ride them around the city. I was jumping on the roofs. I didn't know you could drive the cars. I wasn't paying attention. So I was just riding around on cars, just running around, like kind of punching people and running away and jumping on other cars and exploring. And then like the day or two after my dad takes it away, I was like, why? It's like, there's that stuff in it you don't need to see. Because he was worried I was going to see prostitutes and drug usage. Meanwhile, mine's like, I'm on top of the car and it's moving around. I'm not falling. That's cool.
Yeah, right.
I wasn't like, give me a gun. I want to shoot all these people. This is cool. I was like, I can jump on the car. It's cool. Yay. I was so happy, man.
Yeah, I remember my friends and I used to just for grins, like we would always like fly in the helicopter and
Mm,
just mess around with like the radio stations, and
yeah.
that was like all we used to do at first. I mean, and then like we would like kill people just because like the animations were goofy too.
Yeah.
It wasn't like we it wasn't like we were actually like homicidal or anything. It was just the thing about the early GTA games is, I mean, even now somewhat, but especially back then, like they were cartoonish on
They were very,
purpose.
they weren't like, they didn't feel like real humans. They felt like computer game people. That's what you're kind of
Yeah,
getting at, right? Yeah. Yeah.
right. They essentially looked like, again, going back to an 80s reference, if you've ever seen the Money for Nothing music video where everyone looks blocky, that was
Yeah.
kind of what everyone looked looked like in the
Yeah.
and that might have been because of graphics limitations, but that might have also been done on purpose somewhat. Like I also remember one game that like was huge that I used to play all the time as a kid was Spider-Man,
Oh yeah.
Spider-Man 2 for the PS2.
Yeah.
And I remember like there was a way that you could take thugs, up on top of buildings like from the ground, and I used to just like drop them from like 40 stores or
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
something. Just because you could, and it was just stuff like that, and now sandbox games are a dime a dozen.
Yeah.
I guess the only thing that I can kind of remember from Gamergate was although this had happened a few years after the start of Gamergate, but I remember like one of the big like feminist outrages is in Red Dead Redemption, or Red Dead Redemption 2, which is one of my favorite games, so that's why I'm referencing it. But
Okay.
um, there's a part where I think as Arthur, you're like in the New Orleans type city, and
Right.
there's a woman's suffrage march, and
Mhm.
I guess someone got in trouble because he made a video where basically like he captured and hogtied, the woman's suffrage leader and then like fed her to the
Oh, I remember
alligators.
that was fucking hilarious. I remember seeing that fucking
Yeah, yeah. There was,
fucking rails are hog ties are taking there. Whoom. And like that
yeah,
that kind of shit, like that's so silly. Like, okay, you could say, oh yeah, it's that, but that's just funny because it's just a funny series of events, and then you realize you can do it in a video game.
yeah. Which speaking of, I may or may not have. I may or not play that game on the regular still, and I may or may not have hogtied a certain individual who reminds me of a certain Han Hog, and I might not have had Arthur feed him to um the 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 allig- I the alligator the alligators, or no, I think I actually I'll have to check my gameplay footage, but I think I actually fed him to the pigs in the pig in
Oh,
like the
the pigs
pig.
eat the bodies too.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's
Oh
it's
man, oh man,
it's
it's been a minute since I played. I didn't know that shit.
yeah. I mean, yeah. Red Dead Redemption 2 still holds up.
It's a fantastic open world game, and in the just the amount of stuff you can do in the creative ways you can do it.
Yeah, and not just that, but I actually remember this one of the counterpoint articles to, because I mean the thing with the feminists getting beat up, I do remember that like that made headline news,
Yeah,
right?
it
And
did.
then I forget exactly who it is, and I hope they don't get mad at me on Twitter or whatever, but I do remember someone wrote like a counterpoint of like really Red Dead has like one of the best stories ever in video games. One of the best. You can do so much, and you're complaining about this one thing and making a big
That
deal
wasn't
out
even
of it.
required by the game. Something that somebody did,
Right.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's completely asinine. Like it's
So, the one thing that people have continuously made claims of, and I don't really understand. I still don't understand where this claim comes from, but that without Gamergate, we wouldn't have had Trump. And my whole thing is, I mean, I guess I get to a certain extent that like, Trump running as president was initially a 4chan ship host that actually turned into reality. I
no. What?
I
Oh, you mean him winning or him running?
him running and winning. I guess.
Winning, yes. He's been running, or been wanting to run since like the turn of the century, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, that's the other thing too. Is I think he had like initial. I think he had initially run under like all these like third party like small waves. Like I'm old enough to remember like when Eminem fake endorsed him on TV
Yeah.
I remember you know when Bobby Lashley when
Yeah.
Bobby Lashley fought on his behalf in the WWE. That was
Oh man, that's so weird.
and yeah, and that was actually always my go-to when people would say that Trump was a racist or whatever, or hated black people. I would always pull up that clip, and I'm like, motherfucker, he had like the most badass black fighter period, like
Yeah.
representing in WWE.
He
So
could have had anybody else do it, and for Bobby Lashley of all fucking people, that man cares about performance and results. Maybe
yeah,
he changed at some point, who knows. As for the point about Gamergate leading to it, I think the thing is that you saw what happened with Gamergate and how much gamers were beat down for practically nothing and were just told they were scum of the earth and this, that, and the other. And it didn't, it was big for its region, right? Because it blew up the gaming world, left, right, and center.
yeah,
But there's a lot of like people in industries it didn't get to. So I think when the same kind of strategies were being used against Trump of just saying, oh, he's a racist, anybody who likes him is a racist and they're an idiot, and he's not going to get the candidacy and this, that, and the other, and it didn't work, then they started to double down. And the thing is that with Gamergate, more or less, all the institutions are still in place. The same one that Jim talked about, right?
right,
But with Trump, it it got to the boiling point because it wasn't just gamers they were targeting; it was everybody. It was, and a lot of that was generally working middle class America, based on the states
right.
that voted for him and this, that, and the other. Anybody can probably tell you that much, at least. Um, I also, I'm just going to say this outright. I live in a blue state. I got to be kind of careful with my words and how I phrase things. So if I phrase things weird, that sounds like, no, just I I know it's
It,
good,
it,
but I got to
it's
watch what I
okay.
say around some people.
Yeah, I get that. I
I
come
got
I come from I come from Colorado. Even though I live in Florida, I still talk to enough people from Colorado that I'm like, yeah, so I get it.
Yeah, like
Um,
it's you can't and that's a sucky thing, that you can't always just say shit how you want to say towards somebody in negative or positive, or you got to use particular phrase. But anyway, so the thing is that when so many people were being told all these terrible things, that it there was lashback, you know.
yeah,
And the thing is too, as part of the opponent, I don't know how much it would have popped if Hillary wasn't talking about hateful memes or hate speech or internet
yeah,
misogyny or whatever. If that dude didn't scream Pepe, meme magic might have never been fucking made. But the thing is too is that it was at a boiling point, because a lot of it started to see a lot of the net culture that I think pays attention to things. I guess you could say chan culture and shit post culture and shit like that.
yeah,
They had noticed like all of this kind of pushing, this narrative driving, this being told, anybody who likes this one guy is terrible, and he's just using these buzzwords to try and just shit on his character, no problem. People got annoyed by that, and what's more is that it I think it helped elevate, but I think a lot of what Trump was also was just he was that break from politicians that everyone was kind of wanting in a way.
Yeah. Well, there was that, but then like I always
Which is
explain this
breaking
to
from the
friends.
establishment.
Yeah. Well, and I always explain this to my liberal friends. Yes, I actually do have some friends who are liberal, and they're like, I don't get it. Why did you, why did you vote for Trump? What was it? Like honestly, I've always said this. I don't think if Hillary Clinton had not been the Democrat nominee, if it had been anyone else
Oh
in
yeah,
the Democrat
probably.
Party,
Yeah.
I don't think Trump would have won. I think because here's the thing, like you said, with Donald Trump always running for office, as president. I mean, Hillary did the same thing. In fact, like one of the rumors, um, of why she stayed with Bill after blowjob gate happened, was because, it. I mean, the lore kind of goes that hey Bill, I'll remain married to you, but you know now it's my turn to to be president. And then
Yeah.
she got cucked, out of that position by Obama. And
Well,
then
in a way,
and
thank
then when she
God.
went, yeah, no, absolutely, in a way,
Your
thank
thoughts on
God.
Obama, one way or the other? Thank God for that.
Yeah. Um so and then like I think in 2016, like even a lot of Democrats were like, really you want to go with her again? And I
Yeah.
think it was kind of the thing of like, well, if you guys aren't going to, if you guys, if you guys in the Democrats aren't going to take this seriously, then we're not going to take it seriously, and we're going to nominate Donald Trump, who is the least serious candidate. If you want a shit show, we'll
Yeah.
turn this into an absolute fucking
And
shit
that's
show. And
and that's what fucking happened.
and I mean, here's the thing, like all no, like there were people who will now say like, Mike Cernovich and Milo will say, oh yeah, I always knew Trump was going to win in 2016, but I guarantee you that he and I think everyone, even on our side, who voted for Trump when he got elected the first time, it was kind of like a holy shit,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
actually
No,
did it.
exactly. I thought like it's I hope, but man, I'm not gonna even kind of expect it because I know not to expect good shit in my life. And then it
I
happened, and I just remember sitting there and going, "Fuck! I guess my mom was right. Anybody can be president."
Yeah, I mean, I remember like I remember like I think I remember I stayed up for like, so I remember like the day before I was really depressed because um like all of the prediction polls had said that Hillary was going to win, and there were
Yeah.
already rumors of
Like
them.
90 to 10. It was insane odds. Like Time
Oh
Magazine
yeah,
was printing shit for Hillary, and
yep.
she was getting all cocky about it.
And and then when Trump won, it was like I was thrilled. I was also like, this is really weird, right? And
Yeah.
then I think that happened too. And then like honestly, I think that's kind of like when the Trump coalition, at least part of it, kind of started to fall apart, because then you had like all these, people like Baked Alaska and, you know, uh, Milo, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure if like I'm not sure if Matt Jarbo was a Trump guy, but like all
No,
these
no, no,
all,
no, no. Matt is very left.
but like all these internet people who were on the right kind of started to kind of go. degenerate and and kind of turn on each other afterwards. And now we're at where we're at in 2022, and yeah, it's wild. So
Yeah, it is. I mean, what do you expect from a bunch of shit posters that put conservative effort into like pushing meme magic to get somebody elected president? Like it's you attract all kinds of different people, and you definitely saw it before those years, during those years, and to this day, and just it's insane to see where most of them are today.
yeah, and then yeah, and and now half of them are rooting for the feds and whatnot. It's like Genius Anus, said last week, like everyone is holding, finger guns to each other's
Yeah.
heads over shit and whatnot. And like honestly, I think 2024 is going to be like another. I think we're kind of at the point of no return where like elections from here on out are going to be a shit show if we have them at all.
Yeah.
So, um,
Uh,
but yeah,
in
I mean,
terms of like Gamergate though being the specific, I think it was just sort of that first taste of being fed up with being fed an obvious narrative from
yeah,
every media outlet, and it was just being fed up with the obvious collusion. And the difference is in Gamergate, and you did see some things come out during the election, like the Project Verita stuff and all that. But as soon as you get to like see that taste of collusion, like you can confirm there is shady shit. Like it you get upset, and most people do kind of feel helpless, like they can't really make any change in any way. And then this election presented itself, and I
yeah,
think there were those that believed in him, there were those that were shit posting with him, and I think there were those that just wanted to take a fucking gamble.
yeah. Well, and that kind of feeds into another point that I just thought of. I think Gamergate also kind of signified a big change in the culture too, in the sense that, like, right, video games and movies used to kind of at least masquerade as like an escape from politics. Now I know
Yes.
you, now I know that like people argued that, like, oh, movies have always been like political allegory and whatnot, but like, and I mean, I guess yeah, you can kind of argue that, but like
it's
around
a,
like
it's, it's a genre in general. Like you're not gonna you can look at Star Wars and you can say, "Oh yeah, it's political because it's saying that empires are bad." Yeah, but no, you're missing the point. It's just evil, bad force, and they're trying to stop the good guys.
yeah, and
Like,
now like everything is just so like blatantly political now
yeah,
that like it, and I think
and
that's
there's
the whole
nothing wrong
thing.
with stuff that is blatantly political that wants to be like Manchurian Candidate. Like there are Full Metal Jacket. There are definitely
Yeah,
films that are political in nature that have something to say, but they're not so up your ass about it. And I
sure,
think that's the
sure.
big thing. And we saw, you're right, after at that point we started to see a lot more up your ass kind of shit. And the worst part is not even that, because if something's political and somebody wants to make a statement, I'm cool with that. It's the fucking the catering to certain kinds of
Right.
groups and this and that and the other.
Yeah, I mean, and that's like I think that's why a lot of people, I mean, my stepdad and I included, like we used to love watching football on Sundays just because that was like, our like thing, our
Yeah,
escape, from shit. And then like and occasionally like you would have like individual players like, like doing, like activist causes and whatnot.
yeah,
But then once it became like, you will kneel, during the national anthem, and if you don't, like, you're racist. It was
yeah,
it was that whole thing. It was just like you can't just be like, political individual. Like the entire, game has to be politicized. Otherwise, you're racist or you're an ist, whatever, fill in the blank.
Yeah,
So
it when it becomes more about the messaging rather than the actual entertainment product that it is first, and it's not like, and the product doesn't, it's not meant to cater to that political thought. Like, no one gives a fuck with football. You throw the ball, you catch it, and you touchdown, and color team wins, and then everyone gets mad, and then other team is sad. That's it.
yeah,
Don't have to talk about the status of generational wealth going down, the property market getting smaller. You don't have to get political. It's just football.
yeah,
You know.
or if you do
And if you do,
like
like,
I've always
if you're a
said,
player and you want to say something, I understand that you've got position and power, but
yeah,
it's when you bring it into what you're making, it can ruin the thing you're making, which will
yeah.
just make nobody care about your thing. I have a perfect example of mine. I'm gonna let you go first before I do it, though.
Well, no, I was just gonna say with finishing up with the football
Mm.
analogy. It's like I explained. It's like I explained to a friend. Like I don't mind that athletes, you know, in sports have their opinions, right? I
Right.
really don't. But say when you're outside of the arena, and whatnot, and when you're in your daily life, and people always like to make the argument, oh, but when else are they going to do? And it's like, motherfucker, it's 2022. People are always on social media. Like there
Yeah.
are plenty of
Nowadays,
venues.
yeah,
Yeah, there are
I could
plenty of
understand it more in the
venues
past, but
that
nowadays, yeah, and they do. It's both. They do it in their personal stuff, and then they bring it into their product
yeah,
or into the product. Um, no, it's to roll back into games. I guess I was a big fan of Tech TV back in the mid aughties. I was a huge fan of XPlay.
yeah,
It was a video game review show, and that they got Tech TV got bought out. Well, originally ZDTV, then Tech TV, then Tech TV got bought out by G4, which was owned by
yeah,
Comcast and the like. And I remember, and this is a long form, but it's going somewhere. I remember XPlay originally, it was kind of a little left leaning. They were shitting on George Bush in here and there, but who didn't? It was George fucking Bush. Well, it was George W. Let me put it like that. It was George W. All right.
yeah,
I understand, you know.
yeah.
But it wasn't too crazy. It wasn't like anything over the top. It was like, oh, the girl reviewer wanted there to be more hot guys, or there could be hot girls. Why are there not more hot guys? She'd be kind of grossed out, but it's like, I love the hot guys. Like, they played into her side without making it all preachy. Then after they got bought out and they moved to LA, and that should tell you exactly where this story is going.
Yeah.
I remember them sitting there and doing a segment called Outdated Stereotypes or Offensive Stereotypes in Gaming. And they were talking about Latinos, right? Anybody from South America, Mexican, Spanish, all that kind of stuff. And they were talking about how they weren't portrayed very well in video games. And they would choose, Spanish characters who are antagonists in the story. They would choose, I think, Luis from Resident Evil 4 and how he's ogling the president's teenage daughter, or they brought up, I shit you not, the Mexican gangbanger dudes, the Mexican gangs from San Andreas as bad
Oh,
representation
right,
of
right.
Mexican people. And I'm sitting there going, you motherfuckers, those were real people. That's not all of them, but you can go around the Spanish parts of San Andreas in Los Santos and see just regular Spanish people and Latino
Right.
people walking around. It's not all gangbangers, but there are gangbangers there. And it's like, oh
Well,
no, they're
and
portrayed as they were thugs. Some were thugs. Some were
yeah, the
bootleggers. Some were bandits.
yeah, the point is like the actual gangbangers are supposed to be portrayed as like as bad hombres or whatever. They're
Yeah,
they're supposed
exactly.
to be bad guys.
And it was like, oh, why can't we have a positive portrayal of Latinos in video games as heroes or teachers or some just asinine shit? I'm like, what the fuck is this schlock? Thankfully, I didn't watch X way too much longer after that because it just got worse and worse. So G4 died with many
Yeah,
channels, and they decided to bring it back in the modern social media age, which is the stupidest goddamn idea I could ever think of.
yeah,
And there was a controversy not long ago
yeah.
about
Which we actually covered here
oh,
briefly.
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So I want to just wrap this all up with that point in particular. So
Yeah,
obviously, Morgan Webb didn't want to come back to X Play. It was just Sessler because Sessler needs some money and sell out a little bit. But hey, someone's willing to buy in. Fuck me, right? So they get, I think, Jared the completionist, which is weird. Uh, some black dude who really liked talking about ass and titties on his own stream, and talking about how much he likes to how if you tell a woman to swallow, she'll just do. It was some weird shit, right? But he was on that couch next to a particular lady, in particular, who was named Frosk, and and this whole thing pisses me off twofold. And I know one of the reasons it pisses, probably both are the same reasons it pisses you off. So the first part is that instead of talking about the lack of care for Red Dead Redemption 2 that Rockstar was giving it and the overall neglect to the game and how it's a fucking travesty, she decides to go off on a rant about how basically the viewers, the chatters, they all hate her. They
yeah.
they always say that other women are hotter and that she's not there to be a sex symbol, and or she's not there to be ogled at or whatever, and that's weird. You guys are weird, creepy, pervert losers. Same kind of Gamergate rhetoric. And of course, Adam was clapping, and the black man was going, "You tell him, yeah, that's right."
Yeah, you
Uh,
you go, Frost.
you
Yeah,
go, Frost.
I didn't.
um,
Yeah, tell him.
it's just like, oh my god.
Yeah,
And the whole thing, it was that same kind of like when you talk down to someone, like if you have something to say, okay, that's fine, you can do it, but it gets hijacked by this sort of shit by people who either take it too far or just, I think in her case, she might have just legit hijacked it. I don't fucking know. But trying to say, oh,
yeah,
women work on this whole thing, and women are gamers too. I was like, yeah, we get it. No, we get it. And excuse me.
yeah. I think, yeah. No, my whole take on the Frost thing and this. I mean, I hate to say it, but like,
And it ruined the product. It ruined the show. The show
Yeah,
is in remission. The whole network's in remission because she told people not to watch. Continue.
yeah. Well, so here's my thing. So Revenge of the Show and G4 TV back in the day was primarily targeted at teenage guys, right? Or guys in their teens and
Yeah,
20s, whatever basically. That was
yeah.
that was always the target demographic.
Honestly, so
And
X Play was too.
yeah, and same thing with like Playboy and same thing with the Sports Illustrated issue. I promise I'll tie those things in together. But like there
Okay.
were things. So the thing that drives me crazy just with fourth wave feminism in general is like, right, there are obviously things that are like marketed more or less to straight, hetero, sexual heteronormative, whatever you want to call it. There are certain brands that are intentionally like made for, guys for all intents
Yeah.
and purposes. And
Axe
X
body
Play and
spray.
X, and like, and G4 was one of them.
Yeah.
Um I remember like one of Frost's argument was Sarah Underwood is not there for you to jerk off to, and it's like, and it's like no, she literally posed for Playboy.
Yeah,
That's literally
Olivia Munn's not there
what,
for you to ogle at while they have her jump into a pie in a maid outfit and like lick a PlayStation and all this shit. She was absolutely there to be a fucking sex symbol.
and I
Morgan was picked because she was hot. Morgan got on the screensavers because she had tits and could pass the camera test, along with a couple of
right.
other girls who worked on that, because I've read the book behind the scenes during that era.
Well, and the thing it is like,
And it was just marketing.
yeah, it like you talk to like any, like model or, any woman who's in that position, and
Mm-hmm.
most of the time if you ask them like, hey, how did you feel about that? They were like, yeah, we were cool with it. Like they knew that they were there, to be sex symbols, and they were not, and they were okay with it. In fact, not only were some of them okay with it, some of them, really liked it
Hey,
for
if
whatever
somebody
reason.
thinks you're attractive enough, and even if it's just that, hey, you got something, you know,
Yeah,
it opens
and
up
then
new
like
doors. And a lot of them are, and a lot of folks in general in show business during that era, especially in the mid '80s, were opportunistic.
yeah, and like I understand like we have things like I understand that
Mm,
there are drastic cases like Harvey Weinstein, but the problem now we live in now we live in a culture, or in an internet culture, I should say,
one might say
where
a society of sorts.
yeah, we live. This is my big George Costanza slash
Yeah.
I guess Joker, since that's what the
No,
Zoomers
it's
always
always
do.
it's always going to be George. We're living in a society.
We're
We
living
live in a society.
Hardy J. But no, we live in a society. We live in like a society now where like any guy who has ever like jerked off period is now lumped into the same, you know category category as like Harvey Weinstein, and it's
Yeah.
just it's that level of extremism, and it's that level of activism. It's like, okay, so you want to lump all guys in with Harvey Weinstein. You want to lump all gamers in with Harvey Weinstein, and you don't see why Gamergate happened and
Yeah.
why it's, still somewhat of a relevant thing. That's the problem. It's not that
Yeah.
people, and look, the other thing too is I'm like, if sexy women in gaming, are such a problem, if it's so bad for when women to be sexy, then why is oh god, I can't wait. Amaranth. Why is she a thing? Why is someone like Kitty Malaise a thing?
I
It's like,
mean, I'm I got twofold on you for this one. All right. One, let's just have that quick little discussion and press F in chat for all of the video game convention booth babes. No more hot chicks
yes,
wearing video game clothing or costumes to sell you product, because apparently the non-pretty girls don't like that. And then the pretty girls that have these jobs are like, what the fuck? We rely on these jobs. Why are you doing
right,
this?
yeah. No, I literally, the sad thing is like I have a friend who used to be like a competitor in the Miss America pageant.
Okay.
Um and then when they started to change things and get super political and like allow like the foreplay feminists to like start to influence this thing, she's like, yeah, I'm out. And
Yeah.
I asked her, I'm like, why? And she's like, because I don't mind, what it was before. I didn't want it to change. Like, nobody asked any of us who were actually competing what we wanted. they
Yeah,
just kneel to the activists,
yeah.
and that and like yeah, and that's the thing
and
too.
that, and
So
that was kind of what the nice gentleman who interviewed Mr. Medicare had brought up, is that he was having these liberal middle to high class white people telling him why he should be offended as a black man about
oh
social
yeah,
issues, and this, it's that exact same fucking shit. And I guess that kind of shit started with feminism. I don't know if that's where that particular
yeah,
ideology of "let me explain to you" started and started out the fourth wave, because that shit spread through Tumblr like wildfire.
oh yeah.
But yeah,
No,
no,
and
the
that's
booth babes is one, and yeah, you have women who don't mind. Like, granted, of course, some probably are taken advantage of here or there, and some just accept it as rules of doing business. Now, whether that's wrong or right, that's not for me to fucking decide. I'm not going to claim to be any higher power. Don't do
right.
things to people they don't want done. Don't be a sleazebag, sure, but
Yeah, but
if the woman goes there, knows she's going to put on a skimpy dress with a logo on it and hand out some stuff for a couple hours and get paid 500, 600, $700, fucking make your money. Shit, I wish I was fucking hot enough and a female to do that. That sounds like easy money. Shit, I'm
yeah, and like
jealous.
in most guys at those conventions generally like aren't like most guys
Aren't
are just like
sleazebags.
are not sleaze bags. Like, yeah, you might get a few looks, but nothing like, serious.
Yeah, there's always
Um,
security and stuff like that, and that's a very minor example.
oh
But it's like,
yeah,
and the thing is too is God, I forget the other. Oh yeah, the other point of like sex sells, like you were saying, yeah, off, Jesus Christ, female streamers in general with cleavage, and then like you don't even need to sell it on pure sex appeal, and that's why VTubers are a thing. Like
right.
sometimes it's just a dude wants to spend time with a girl one way or the other. It's not even about sex half the goddamn time. So it's a
Yeah,
weird thing to try to fight on. It's like, oh, we're not eye candy. Yeah, but you're supposed to be entertaining, and I'm not fucking entertained right now.
yeah, and yeah, and I mean like. I know that like people say, well, well, incel culture that's a problem, and it's like, well, maybe if maybe if guys, weren't so like maybe it weren't so stigmatized to be a guy, these days. Like, now, sure, there are like actual cases of like actual incels, right?
Yeah,
But like most of the time, it's just guys who are awkward who
yeah,
don't know how to talk to girls, and then in this
and
day
generally
and
mean
age,
well.
yeah, and if you're slightly awkward, oh, that's problematic.
Mm,
So,
mm.
um, you know,
Ashby asks, aren't VTubers just guys? Oh no, they're female. There have been a couple of cases of a guy pretending to be a girl, but no, it's a very female dominated field in the same way that female streamers dominate their own field.
yeah, yeah, no, I mean, Ash, you're a gamer, I know. So, yeah, I mean, yeah. So, isn't your internet mom Pipkin Pipka, a
My
female?
mother is Pipkin Pippa and my father is Tenma Miami. Correct. Unofficially for legal reasons. But yeah. And yeah, no,
But
it's
aren't
Simcash
they
for
both
sure.
VTubers?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
And I
and
don't know what that means for my future, but I know both of them are females for absolute certain.
both of them are
Oh well,
both of
yeah,
them
no.
are females.
I mean, you can look at a lot of the very top high end VTubers. They've all they call them roommates, but the details on who they are out. People know who they are. Like one of the most popular. She's a rapper. Like she does shows. Like she's 100% female in every sense of the word.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is kind of Simcash, and it varies because the VTubing thing is just as wide as YouTube. Like you have people who try to sell like, oh, it's a girlfriend experience, or oh, it's the mommy experience, or some shit like that. But then you have people like Pipkin Pippa, like my mother, who just think of a pink anime short rabbit playing Postal 2 and talking about how they're putting chemicals in the water. That's Pippa. That's why I love Pippa. That's why Pippa's my Oshi. Because it's such a wide range of, there are absolutely thoughts left, right, and center. And then they're just people being people in the same way that, you know, you would find on YouTube of just crazy people being crazy people.
Yeah, you know, and you know, and why, and it's like a lot of the people who are complaining at like a lot of this, you know, gamer culture and just internet culture in general don't understand it to begin with, right? It's like,
Yeah.
if I'm complaining about, well, I mean, this might not quite be the same thing, but like, because we all depend on it, but like, it would be me complaining at like plumbing, you know, and how like, you know, it would be me complaining at like the way plumbers do a certain thing when I don't understand the first thing about plumbing.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, or something like that. So I mean, it kind of seems to me like Gamergate. Well, I mean, I know that there's also like Comicsgate and, you know, stuff like that.
Gamergate is what kind of really pushed the gas on, let's call anything that's a controversy a gate.
Right.
That was the beginning of that shit. Because that wasn't commonly used since fucking Watergate, you know?
Right, yeah.
Blowjob gate is a new term. That is not what it was called back in the 90s.
No, it was called well, I mean, it was called Lewinsky Gate. I just call it,
yeah.
I just like to call it Blowjob Gate because that's what happened. And,
I mean, I'm sure many people do.
And you know, and I mean, in all honesty, like as far as scandal and as far as like scandals go, that wasn't the worst thing. The other rumors with Trump is it's been confirmed that like he slept with 2 Playboy playmates, and I was like, what's the problem there? And then there was also, you know, rumors that he went out with like Trish Stratus and Tori Wilson a few times, and I'm like, okay, well then there's definitely no problem there. Like, this just makes me want to vote for him more, or some, you know, stuff like that. So
got a message in from Genius Anus about what they called the scandal back in the 90s. You want to know what he has to say?
Yeah, I love to hear what the anus face has to say for him.
At Genius Anus on Twitter tells me that the Clinton blowjob scandal of the 90s was called Jewish girls never pay for dry cleaning. God damn, dude.
Oh, damn, buddy.
Oh, fuck. He's been sending me some messages, but that one's so fucking fire. I had to fucking shout it out. Also, I will say, no one is safe from the grift, and grifting in itself is not fucking bad. I do not technically simp for Pippa. I like Pippa because I adhere to that kind of schizoid mental health. Sometimes gamer words might fall out mentality. But no, she's actually one that says like, beware parasocial relationships, beware how much money you give, think realistically about it, like engage with your entertainment in a healthy way. Like, she pushes for that, and that's also one reason why I like her so much, is because whereas other VTubers will act like, you know, a girlfriend, or call you honey or something if you super chat them or give you special attention, she's like, no, don't do any of that. Don't fall for that. They're trying to trick you. Beware motherfuckers like that.
Yeah, which is it's weird to me that like the gamers do that. I mean, it's weird to me that like gamers and people who don't do porn. I mean, I guess it's weird when like when like cam girls do it too. But like with like cam girls and whatnot, it at least makes sense somewhat because at least like it is supposed to be sexual. But like when when like video game players do that, that's when it gets weird. So
It's
or weirder, I guess I should say.
I mean, don't get me wrong, like people are going to watch for their own reasons, and everybody's watching for something different, right? There's some dudes that just want to watch and see fucking tits.
Yeah.
There's some dudes that watch and just want to hear a nice voice. And then you have dudes like me who want to watch gameplay, and the anime person talking is just a little addition to what I loved Let's Plays, back from the 2012, back from the Gamergate era. I fucking
Yeah.
loved Let's Plays.
No, dude. Some of those Let's Plays have actually like helped me get through games too. That's the other thing is like
Oh, I've been able to experience games that I wouldn't have been able to play on my own. That is just easier to watch it.
yeah. Oh yeah, completely. So
But yeah, no, it's I hate to I like I get it, like games did sell on hot female girls in it, in a way. Like, okay, Tifa was hot, Laura Croft was hot back in the day, and this, that, and the other. Fucking what's the chick from Blood Rain? All kinds of shit like that, right? But in this case, it's like now all the sex appeal is to the people playing the games, and then the games don't give me nothing. I'm like, fuck, I want to play the games. I'm not just watching for someone to sit there and play with their fucking tits out. I want to play the fucking game.
right.
So I watch for somebody doing something cool, or just I'm watching for somebody. I want to see somebody who their personality I like is a let's player or whatever, play through and get a genuine reaction. And I think too, a lot of it also boils down to that. I think a lot of those streamers tend to pick multiplayer games where it's just the same thing all the time. They don't have to think about a story or be emotional half the time, and this and the other.
Yeah.
And then you get into the weird shit like the hot tub streaming culture in general is weird.
Yeah. Yeah,
which
streaming, yeah.
which blows this whole thing of like, oh, women shouldn't be sexualized out of the fucking water when hot tub streams are a fucking thing on Twitch.
Right,
Body
right.
painting streams and fuck.
Yeah. My favorite is all like these lingerie like streamers or whatnot who are like it's not sexual. Meanwhile, their titties are like close to
Yeah,
falling
no, I was like,
falling out
everyone
and
knows what
whatnot.
you're doing. So
Yeah,
it's I say all of that to counteract Frost and say, no, women are put on these shows and done to sell this product because you are working for a corpo and you are selling a product. Don't ever, this is
yeah,
not, X-Play was never some indie thing. It was new and edgy for the time in 2003, and it pushed some bounds, and it was scuff a little bit for TV programming, but it was still, they had to hit numbers. They had to push things. So Morgan had to
yeah,
wear certain kinds of shirts that showed off arms a little more or something, or they would do the hentai game section, or they could look up hentai games when they were in Japan. Like, they had to cater to the demographic because that show is made for a demographic. Same way Unscrewed with Martin Sargent was. And so for Frost to say that, someone like me who was a huge fan of Tech TV back in the day, and to an extent G4, I fucking am pissed because somebody like that is working on something I heralded so close to my heart and understood the core of. Like, I things have to change and adapt, right? But to say these kinds of things and not be able to even admit what the past was like, you deny any side of that, and you have to take it for what it is to appreciate it. So it's like, and on top of it, that's just a fucking Twitter rant. Shut the fuck up and keep it on Twitter. But the thing is that there were other girls that weren't. The only reason that she got upset is because guys didn't find her hot. They found the other girls hot, but it was her. And she just kept saying,
Right.
oh, and chat, this, that. They're saying chat wasn't saying a goddamn thing. I think it was shit from Twitter and shit she read online. And
yeah,
it
well, yeah, well, and then that's the other adage of, don't feed the trolls. Speaking of women in gaming, I did not plan for this. I swear to God, I
Oh
didn't.
boy.
But 80 just tweeted out the most appropriate meme on Twitter.
Oh, did she?
Which is I put it up on screen. Oh wait, I've got to click the thing so it'll actually. Okay.
I'm familiar with Tomato Anus, by the way. He does good work. And yes, XPlay also reviewed games very well. Morgan Wed was fantastic. Bro. No, fuck that though. I want that. I want RGB fucking stove. That looks fucking dope.
For the people listening on the audio podcast,
right, for the podcast.
You can't see this. The meme is gaming setup for girls, and then it's a picture of a skillet and like a neon like cooktop range.
Like the fire itself is RGB.
which actually, I'm not gonna lie, that actually legit kind of seems cool to be.
Rainbow fire coming out of your stove? Yeah, sure. Fuck it, that's cool. All right, yeah, that's dope.
Yeah, as long as it gets my eggs done in the morning,
Yeah,
But
exactly.
Oh yeah, I don't. Again, and
Genius wanted to add, gaming was better when female gamers were only fans of gaming and not trying to shill an OnlyFans career, which I agree with.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
And they got it rougher back then, rougher than they get it now. Back when it was just girls who liked video games, they got it so much way worse than chicks have it today in games. Because now there's so much more adjustment to the culture to kind of prevent things. I mean, shit still happens, but nowhere near where it used to. I was in those fucking Halo 2 lobbies.
Yeah, well, and oh yeah, well, and then there are, well, but then the other thing that was always funny was like I was in a couple of those early Call of Duty lobbies, I remember, where there would be chicks, and it would be hilarious, right? Because you would you would get some pretty foul, shit hurled at the females, and then rather than like crying or whatever, a lot of these females back in the day would say, "Oh yeah, well, and fuck you back, you dicklet, you dicklet assholes."
Yeah, like they would banter back or they would be quiet. And the ones who felt they had to be quiet, that fucking sucks. But like the ones who could hit it and adapt and roll with it, they ended up being pretty badass. Like if you heard a chick popping off, and even if she wasn't doing super great, like that was still like, oh damn, okay, shit, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, and it was hilarious because then you would be like, oh shit, this girl can riff. So,
yeah, and she likes games. Hey, it's enough.
Yeah. So,
it's things we're still seeing today, and we're still seeing in how games are marketed, and it has permeated the industry to its core. I remember the Capcom leak came out not too long ago with a lot of internals, and there were documents for Capcom talking about avoiding gender stereotypes. So they wanted to avoid roles like Zelda and Link and Mario and Peach. and they wanted to embrace things like The Last of Us The Last of Us Part 2 and Life is Strange, if I remember.
Yeah, no, it's gotten
Positive representation or something, or a fighting it. I know the Japanese aren't used to this bullshit.
yeah. No, let me tell you how bad it's gotten. When I was in my I think it wasn't quite bad my freshman year of college. But it got bad around like 2015, 2016 when I was in my sophomore year of college. So I remember I actually had a professor who made this stupid rule that you could not use gendered language.
What the fuck?
And so like I remember I wrote like I'm not saying it was perfect, but it was actually an A plus paper probably. And I remember I wrote something like fire. The subject was something on on firemen. Yeah, see, I did it again. The subject was on like firefighters or something, and
Mhm.
I used the term fireman. I used the term fireman, right?
Mm.
And I got points taken off because I referred to the firefighter as a fire,
Yeah,
man
yeah.
instead of a fire. And it was just like what but why are you taking points off for that? But yeah, like that's the type of petty bullshit now that we're
And
seeing.
it's that kind of shit where it's actually that's not proper to use when like common usage dictates, even though it sounds gendered, it's not like, hey, you guys, like it. If there are girls, it still applies because in that term, you guys can, yes, mean a group of guys, or you guys can mean a generalized group of people due to common usage and how we adapt language. Trying to fight over the semantics of language and control how it evolves normally has been one of the most infuriating things I've had to deal with. And because
Well, it
it
is.
ties into the video games, because then when they localize Japanese games, we have to fucking suffer. And same for anime, we have to suffer with this fucking bullshit where they try to work in through localization, quote localization in some cases, certain kinds of jokes or rephrases or change how certain characters were represented in original media.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you say that because like I have friends I have, granted they're internet friends, but they're still friends who like who I've known for the past few years who are like who are from France and Europe and whatnot. And
Mhm.
over there where French and Spanish and whatnot, like those are all, you have the
Gendered
masculine and
languages.
feminine.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so like they'll ask me, and their English is pretty good, but even so, they'll be like, "What is this What is this non-gen?" Like they don't get the concept. Like, how can you li- like one of my friends who is French actually said something that's very funny but true. He said, "Trying to use language without gender is like trying to breathe air without oxygen," or I mean, it wasn't perfect grammatically, but like I understood what he was trying to say, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, for some reason, European countries don't they laugh at all this, gender
Yeah,
neutral
they
stuff
really
because
do. South
I
Americans
mean,
too.
yeah, it's uniquely an American, and
Canadian.
somewhat like Western thing in American Canada. Yeah, it's
It has to do with the melting pot syndrome.
yeah,
Um,
well, yeah, well, now it just seems like the melting pot has melted everyone's brains at this point. Um,
I mean, yeah, it's kind of it has gone to like there's I go back to the thing that fucking Latinos and Latinas hate the term Latinx. I hate the term Latinx. It's stupid as shit. It sounds stupid as shit. It's not part of the language, and it's being dictated by people who aren't primary speakers of that language, which is even more
Right,
infuriating.
yeah. Yeah, and then when I ask what and then when I ask what a Latinx is, no one can give me a straight answer as what it is because there are 50. Because the other thing too with all this non-gender stuff is there are anyone can give you 50 fucking definitions for any one of these things, and the fact
Yeah.
that they say, "Oh, well, it keeps changing," it's like oh, so it changes on a whim? Yeah, that's bullshit.
Oh yeah, the gender fluids and shit. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's be what you want to be. I don't give a fuck. Just like I quote fucking Filthy Frank basically. I don't fucking care what you like. Okay, I'm a fucking hustler. You just don't be up in my face with it.
Yeah,
And
don't
I take that to heart. Yeah, like when you try to tell other people how their culture should adapt based on this particular sort of thing or this minority group of people in comparison to the majority you're trying to like, they don't. You're right. In Europe, there it's kind of there, but it's nowhere near the levels of Canada and the US in terms of so many people don't fit that the I guess you'd say the traditional mold anymore. Um
yeah. Um,
and I think
yeah,
almost in a way the only reason why it's in those countries as much as it is probably because of the internet.
my only two rules are basically, you do you, don't bother anyone, and then
Yeah,
don't mess with children, and
yeah,
just let kids be kids.
yeah.
Other than that, as long as you're not harming anyone,
What you do behind closed doors is
you
your
do
business.
you.
Ain't no fucking thing to me. Yeah.
And the funny thing is like 40 years 40 years ago, not even 40 years ago, 30 years ago now, that used to be like a reasonable, thing, even from the left, or from the liberals. But now
I
it's
think
just
I mean even I mean God, there was a point where it was like even in the 90s and probably fucking the 80s even is like it was kind of like the military. Don't ask, don't tell. What you do is your business. Just, keep it to yourself or whatever. And some people are okay with that, you know. But then some people took it and they turned it into an identity, and then shit got wacky.
yeah, it's just
Man, this
yeah,
conversation's all over the place.
things got wacky, and well, the other thing is I think as people we started taking ourselves too seriously
Oh
too,
fucking,
right?
oh
Like,
fucking, way too seriously. I think even
and
us as a
not
human
and
species kind of takes ourselves too seriously.
yeah, I mean, yeah, just in general. I mean, yeah, the fact that people take this internet drama seriously is, I mean, in some cases, right? Like if you're swatting people and whatnot, like that's an extreme and you should take that seriously. But like
Oh yeah, yeah.
if you know, like Ralph, again, I always hate to bring up Ralph, but he's a perfect example of someone who he is the prime example of someone who constantly picks petty fights, and it's like, wait, what? You're starting IRL shit over this? Really?
I mean,
Why?
that's how that the grift.
Yeah,
That's
I
it.
mean, yeah, it just goes to show how, weird everything
And
is.
that's for one thing before I want to move forward with the point I'm about to make about how things are weird now. For Steely, Anime, yes. I sometimes say anime, I sometimes say anime. It depends on who I'm around and how they say it. Anime is technically the older, I guess, more correct old school way of saying it. Anime is just, it was drilled in my brain, and so now I bounce between the two, and it's a personal hellscape I live with every day. Hi, my name's Aki, but anyway, moving forward with how it's strange.
Steely, hold, hold on. I just want to say, Akaba Steely, you might not have been here for his introduction episode a few weeks ago, but Akaba grew up in Japan, so please, go easy on him. He lived on an Air Force base in Japan, and so
Two
he
in
would
two places. Yeah.
yeah, and so his weeb credentials are actually legit.
I would hope, because I don't watch that
I
much
would
fucking
say.
anime anymore. God damn. That's just the
Yeah.
culture I grew up partially a lot engorged by. So it was like, yeah, no, of course I'm gonna be into that shit. It was all I saw.
Yeah, right.
um Dude, I mean, what can I say? I'm gaijin, but I can't help it. Like, I don't know. Fuck, it's
Well,
okay. It's okay to be a gaijin. We ain't all gotta be Nihongo, you know?
yeah, and as much as people give you for anime, I will say this, for now at least, anime is pretty I wouldn't say it's based, but it's not politicized. The SJW had
The dubs are kind of
I
getting there.
yeah, I know they're trying, but they haven't ruined it yet. So,
Yeah, the Moon Rune cartoons. That's the term you guys are looking for in chat. Moon Rune cartoons. But yeah, no, God, anime. I can get into it about the anime industry, but we got to stay on topic. Fuck. But what I was gonna say is, I think what makes everything so weird and has you having these fucking moments with Ralph where you're like, what the fuck, why? And I say the grift is because everything is fueled by money now, and it really affects the type of stuff that's put out on the internet.
yeah,
I think ruins a lot too.
oh yeah. Well, and look, I'll be honest too. This is one of the things that like drives me crazy as a podcaster, as someone who has done this for a long time. It's like, yeah, do I want to make money doing the Whitfield report? Absolutely.
Yeah, who would say
But
no?
it, but
Wanting to make
is
money from something they enjoy. Yeah.
but is but is making money the reason the reason why I do this? No, I do this because I've always loved podcasts. I've always been weirdly interested in politics somewhat, and I always enjoy talking to people. Um,
Yeah.
uh, you know,
And it
un-
shows because you're still doing it.
yeah, un- and unfortunately, and I think there are a lot of people out there like me in that
Mhm.
position, but unfortunately, because of all these grifters who have come in and started doing this and have made all about making money, I think it's kind of painted us all somewhat in a negative light.
Oh yeah.
Um,
There's
maybe
definitely
not
trickle
like
down
in
consequences.
maybe not everyone, but certainly I certainly think there's more of a stigma to overcome. So,
Oh
that
yeah.
that's why I always say if you can donate, all my stuff is in the description, but I'm not going to be one of these people that is like, uh, you need to pay me or else, you're out of here.
Yeah.
You fucking pay
I'll
me.
I'll divulge some stuff. I have stuff planned and come up. Whoa, wow, fucking words. Good job, Akima. Shit, I have some stuff planned out coming up that I want to do for my own YouTube channel, and like I have been in the process of planning and thinking and plotting shit out for 7 months solid, and stuff's been in my head for years, but I have certainly certainly come to the terms of I'm doing this because I want to do creative things and I want to make creative things like I used to when I was a teenager. Back
Yeah.
when YouTube, you couldn't make money on it. I just make silly AMVs or lip sync videos to audio using games and stuff, and some YouTube poop stuff or things like that. I just would create, and I had so much fun with it. It's why I did sprite art for a while, and I would
Yeah.
just like fuck with little sprites and shit. So like I know anything I do going forward, just don't even think about it and just do it for the fun of doing it,
Exactly. You
because
know,
it'll reflect in the work.
yeah. If you're entertaining and you put the effort in, you might not get donos overnight, but you'll start to you'll start to monetize one way or the
Well,
other.
the thing is like it's not even. I've thought about it, and this is it's because I'm thinking about why I'm doing it, and I want to do it for the creative because I enjoy these types of things and I want to make my own of it and da 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 like that. But it's that I can't. It's not about making anything off of it because I
Right.
want it to be a catalog at the end of the day, because I won't do it forever. Obviously, nothing ultimately lasts forever. Um, so I want to say that no matter what, regardless of if I make something or nothing from it, that's okay because I'll have enjoyed what I made. And I can
Right,
enjoy going
yeah.
back to things and enjoying it however. And it's something that I created. And I think that creation is worth more than the monetary. But for most people, it's all about the fuck, cash rules everything around me, cream, get the money, dollar, dollar bill, y'all. Like
Yeah.
that's how it is. And I got stuck kind of almost in that set of like trying to plan out how growth and potential is like, no, don't fucking worry about growth. Do what you need to do to put it out and get eyes on it because you want people to enjoy and experience it. But don't take it as a business and put your best in, but don't expect. Just do it for the sake of it.
Well, the other thing too, and I mean, I've shared this before a little bit, but like after the shit show that was the 2020 election, I kind of got burnt out on doing like 24/7 political news coverage, right?
Oh
Just
yeah, that
because,
shit'll tire you. Yeah.
and and so I was just like, I still wanted to do the show, but I just want to do a show where I can bounce with people just about, whatever more openly. I don't have to talk politics every day because I swear to God, if I have to talk at like what Joe Biden is doing,
Yeah.
I
That
mean,
shit can get tiring.
yeah, there are only so many times there are only so many different times and so many different ways you can say that Joe Biden or really any politician for that matter is a fuck up before the audience. And I find myself saying it too, whenever I listen to these political podcasts where it's like, yeah, we know that, Biden's a bad, president or,
Yeah.
and it kind of gets repetitive in politics,
Yeah. Well, it's
um,
the same thing in like video game YouTube sphere. People can bash a game into the fucking sun and back, but like at a point, it's just you can talk about a bad game and its development and how it's bad, but you're only going to be able to milk so much out of that topic.
yeah, but amazingly, Akira, you can talk about Final Fantasy VII for hours, or how
I
wh-
can't
wh-
say any of the content's nutritious though.
which one is it that you absolutely hate? It's seven. It's seven, right?
Uh, no, I don't absolutely hate seven. I shit. You're putting me on the spot here. I feel I have a very love hate with seven. I have a very, very love hate with seven. Um, I can see the good out of all of the Final Fantasies, but a lot of them have some problems. I hate what seven has become in terms of a mass marketing tool and
So
global brand recognition status tool.
so just like So you have the same problem with the Final Fantasy franchise that I have with Rockstar games in general, where it's like my problem with Rockstar is they have so many great gaming franchises besides Grand Theft Auto, like Red Dead and Max Payne, for instance. But for whatever reason, they always decide to go back. And I mean, I kind of get I get that GTA is the flagship in part, but it's like even so, you have so many other great franchises that you do absolutely nothing with or rarely do anything with.
That is my problem with Square Enix as a company. I treat the Square
Yeah.
Enix problem different from the Final Fantasy problem, and I treat the Final Fantasy problem different from, but as a result of the Final Fantasy VII problem. Um,
So you and I have the same problem with
oh,
two different companies then.
it's kind of, I mean, don't get me wrong, I have a problem with many video game companies. Fucking who doesn't?
As do I.
But it is sort of the same thing where I hate what Final Fantasy VII has become, because it's become this nostalgia cash cow, lean on IP where they can just make something and it'll just sell top dollar hand over fist. Meanwhile, the main franchise of Final Fantasy suffers. The side games of Final Fantasy suffer, and they all just end up as fucking the same kind of gotcha gambling role playing games. Or yeah, gambling fucking RPG simulators. It comes from that. You have all these IPs, you have things you could do, you could be creative again, and you choose not to. Final Fantasy, the whole reason Square Enix is afloat is because of Final Fantasy 14. That's the only reason that this company has any fucking money to do anything with at all, is because somehow
Yeah.
they stumbled into having the biggest MMORPG in the world, and they have squandered it. They put nothing much back into FF14, and to the point that even with all that money being made, because of incompetence and management on the board level after CEO changes and such of the nature, they had nothing in the pipeline creatively to do for Final Fantasy 15. So they pulled an in stasis project, pulled the director off of it, gave it to a new guy, told him rewrite it, reformat it, fit it up, get it shit out in 3 years. By the way, while you're making the game, develop the engine at the same time. 3 years, go.
Do you
And it results in a bad product.
oh yeah.
As
Well
you
my
can
my
imagine.
my other problem, and this is a decline with the gaming industry and the tech industry really in general, is the idea of subscription-based gaming and subscription-based software. Um, so like I don't know, do you have any of the are 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 you one of those uh snobby PC gamers, or are you one of those PC gamers that has like consoles as well or something?
Okay, all right. I fucking we'll we'll go in on this, all right?
I
I have a gaming PC. It is the third gaming PC I've made in my lifetime since I was 16. I have two PlayStation 1s. Both are chipped in clear colored cases with storage extras. I have purple, black, clear, orange, and blue PS1 cases. I have a
nice.
Japanese PS2 with a custom flip top for swap magic and swapping region play discs, hooked up with my games running over Ethernet to it, while also soft modded off of a unique memory card. PlayStation 3 is custom firmware, so I could do replay Metal Gear Online 2. I have a PS4, which I bought for Death Stranding, and then that came to PC, so I hacked it for fucking PT and Bloodborne Alpha and this, that, and the other. I hacked the fucking Switch. I have my Super Nintendo still. I have my two NESs still. I have my Game Boy Color, my Wonder Swan Color. I have my Vita, my 3DS. I have everything because I grew up on consoles, and
Yeah.
I don't particularly care that much for emulators. They're okay. They're great when you want to just play something and you don't have it, or it's not easy, but nothing beats the feel of the authentic media. But
No,
my gaming PC is kind of beefed, or was for a point. I do enjoy PC game. I think PC gaming is kind of superior as a result. Consoles kind of getting better with mods and things like that and possibility, but obviously they just can't compete. But I respect both for what they do. Each have a purpose, function, and form. And if the hardware has good software, boom.
yeah.
Sorry for
So
that long-windedness.
no. But okay. So you have a PS4 now. The reason I ask is because so I have a PS5, but I do not have a PlayStation Plus subscription. And apparently, in order to play multiplayer games, you need a PS Plus subscription.
Right, in the
And
same way that you need Xbox Live for Xbox and
right,
Nintendo
yeah.
Switch's thing for Switch, or
And
Nintendo's service for Switch. Sorry,
and to be honest, like that type of shit drives me crazy because
it's a scam.
it's like, yeah,
Yeah, it's a scam
because like
because
back in
all
the
the net code's peer to peer.
yeah, yeah, completely. So yeah, and it's like, well, we didn't need these subscriptions to get to peer-to-peer, multiplayer games like, even 5 years ago. Like this is a brand new thing. And then the
Yeah.
fact that games now have like the token based, have like the same like transaction based, shit that you can buy just like in mobile gaming, that
Mm-hmm.
pisses me off too.
Oh yeah.
Um it's just like fuck. Why?
It's uh, it, it's
Um
it's because our market. It's because the industry got too fucking big. Honestly,
yeah.
it uh, it
Well,
it's it's
yeah. And
it's
then
a thing that is something that people also should have raged about, but because Gamergate was more about kind of politics and ideology, we happily kind of ignored bad business practices. I remember when DLC first started coming out, people hated it. People were fine with expansion packs. It was DLC. And at some point, as I guess with the mobile market and the mobile market moving into eventually consoles and games and influencing that market as a install base, eventually the practices of the gotcha and shit and the roulettes and the loot boxes came into the rest of everything. I mean, TF2 had the best intentions when they did it. And to their credit, Team Fortress
yeah.
2 and Counter-Strike Go work because the cases are given to you. It's its own weird self-sustaining economy where money is flowing between people and there's money to make. You might
Right,
spend money,
yeah.
but you can make some.
Yeah, say
And
yes, yes. Same thing with RuneScape back in the day.
yeah,
RuneScape, I used to play RuneScape back in the day. Was only like there was a free version that you could do like massive stuff, on. But then like if you wanted to pay, it was literally just $5 a month, and that was it.
yeah,
And you could basically get like a whole bunch more shit for dirt cheap, basically.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and yeah, and like that was the way things used to be. And now it's like, and I mean, yeah, and RuneScape had its own in-game economy where like, yeah, you basically there was any way that you could buy advantages. Like you just, you made money in the in-game economy and
Yeah.
that was it.
And it was all
Now,
cosmetics. It was all cosmetics and stuff. Yeah.
right.
Which I think made it, or
Now,
in TF2's case, it was like some gameplay changes and things like that. But it started as cosmetics and nothing that would change gameplay or balance it. And now,
yeah. And now you've got like what was it? Diablo something from mobile where like I heard that
oh yeah,
someone spent like close to like $40,000 or
20,
something
30,
on.
$40,000, some crazy amount, and he didn't get any rare items or pulls or whatever it was.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I mean, it's gambling. It's at the end of the day, it's gambling, but there's it's two forms. It's either gambling that helps you get better, which then you're incentivized to gamble, and it's obviously a way more predatory tactic of, well, you can get better at the game if you play this gambling game and give us money, and you'll see the results. And then there's just a gambling of, oh, I have this obsessive compulsive disorder. I want all these skins. This is my favorite character. I'm gonna try and roll it, and it's just slots. It's just fucking slots. Um,
yeah, well, and also, I mean, I was talking to a friend about this too with like Call of Duty and whatnot. I
mhm.
kind of feel like COD and other first person shooter games kind of got ruined because in multiplayer at least, like I remember you used to have to like actually like level up to like
Mm.
get certain guns and like play matches, and now like
Battlefield 2.
and,
Yeah,
yeah, and now if you're rich enough, or let's be honest, if your daddy has a high enough credit card, you can just buy out all the weaponry from like, whichever console store
now
or
let me take the hot take on that one. I hate that fucking system. I hate the FPS
Oh,
level
oh,
up
me too.
to hell and back. I would rather kind of be happier to just buy something, depending on how much the core game is, to just have all the shit I want unlocked. That would be fucking lovely, because I fucking hate,
Yeah,
for weapons, for like gameplay tools, that irks me.
right. No, yeah, I hear you. I hear you, and I hear what you're saying, right? I agree with you
Right.
completely. But then that's the problem because like if basically they're making it so hard that you have to buy shit, but then like let's just say for whatever reason someone can't spend the extra money because they've already spent money on the console, which isn't that, let's face it, that's not cheap. The
Yeah.
console is, still money. So
Yeah.
you spend money on, on the game and whatnot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can't afford the extra, DLC shit and you have to play, well then, you know, it's kind of an unfair advantage. Whereas like, you know, let's let's at least make things easier so that like it's more equal, I guess,
Yeah.
or equal opportunity at least.
Well, the
So
thing is like it was better than the system we have now, because okay, at least everyone could do it, and then if they wanted, they could prestige or whatever, right? Um, and it's a microcosm. It was many different things all the fuck at once. It was stuff that was locked on disk. It was stuff that you could unlock. It was stuff you couldn't unlock, and it it got to that point where it affected how I felt about video games in general. Where
yeah,
I was like, okay, I'm not really a fan of battle royale games, but I'll try the Final Fantasy VII one because I like the lore and the aesthetic, and let's see what it's about. And I play it, and it's got a season pass, and it's got a premium store, and it's got money to sell you to buy these costumes, and it's all costumes and skins and everything. So it's and then you play it, and it's just a battle royale game. It's got some cool mechanics, some cool features. I hate that it's only on mobile, because I don't do that. I don't play games like that. I want it on a fucking PC or a console at least. And I just dropped the game because there's nothing. I would just play it for wanting to enjoy playing a battle royale game. I'm not going to try and grind out a season pass for cosmetics or tickets to do a gambling wheel. I don't feel motivation out of that. I'm not going to go do these checklists. Like, I heard that is the current state of Halo, actually, not that long ago.
yeah,
That Halo is all about people not even caring who wins the games. Everyone's just going to go do their little checklists and play whatever way, instead of playing to win, because they want to get farther in their fucking in their season pass. And it was like, I remember when the game was about winning or losing and playing your best.
yeah. No, I so speaking of mobile gaming and whatnot, this is what's weird, right?
Mm,
So when I was a kid, uh, I saved up like my one of my first major purchases, like when I was in middle school, that I saved up like all my birthday money, all my Christmas money, all my allowance money
mm.
for was the original PlayStation Portable
Ah, yes. Oh, I forgot.
system, right?
I have a modded PSP too. I can't forget that. I have a Final Fantasy 7 PSP.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no,
I
I
can't believe I forgot. I loved my PSP so much.
oh, dude. So if you were a kid growing up in the mid aughts,
Mhm.
right? We didn't have smartphones that did everything.
Fuck no. The
So all
PSP
my
was the
friends,
everything device.
well, yeah. I mean, so you had three devices, right? You had your PSP, you had your iPod, and
Yeah,
most kids had like flip phones or something like. And those
yeah.
are the three devices that you just never left home
Mhm.
without, right? And what was cool about the PSP was you could like theoretically play games for hours over like the course of multiple days because the battery would just last for hours, right?
Oh
Like
yeah.
and nobody wants and see like I actually never got the PS Vita, but that was only because like I basically wore my PSP into the ground basically.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this, like I
Um
there was points where I would take the phone and the iPod and the wallet or whatever. But dude, once I had the fucking PSP, I just used the PSP for the music device. It
yeah,
kind of cut
yeah, I
that
mean,
because I didn't use that. I didn't store that much music on it anyway. So
yeah. Yeah, no, that's a fair point. But like I mean, I guess I was doing research because I was going to see if like Sony had like an upcoming like like a handheld, and apparently they
oh
stopped
no.
making them all together,
Hmm.
which I'm like,
Vita got cut short. Vita got cut way short. It did not get the support it needed as a system. Um, it was another bout of the PS3 Sony incompetence era.
was I mean, did just because like, well, what was interesting was like because like I remember like, so I remember with the PSP like everyone had one
Yeah,
once it came out, and I was one of the first like early adapters to get it, right? Because like
right.
I remember I remember hearing about it when it was in development, right?
Hmm.
Like back in like 2005, and then when it came out like 2 years later, like I was one of the first people in line
Yeah.
at the Target store to get it, right? So
I remember hearing about it on XPlay back in 2003, and they were the early claims of it might be able to do portable PS2 style games. Kinda,
yeah,
a
yeah,
little
no,
bit.
and I mean, and I mean, it wasn't. I mean, and it wasn't quite like that. Like you can. I remember the early PSP games. You couldn't do open world, but goddamn, did they get pretty close to doing
Oh well, I
you
mean,
know.
as they developed on the system, they really learned to master it, and that's why Liberty City Stories and Vice City Stories are such good games on that system.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess so. The PSP had like a really great life cycle, and then the PS Vita, um, basically got no life support. I guess my problem is now is like everyone's like, oh well, everyone just has phones and people game on their
Yeah,
phones. Well, the problem with that is like I'm sorry, even if you have a flagship iPhone or a flagship Android, phones are not designed. Most phones, I should say, are not designed to be like fully functioning gaming machines and
yeah,
cell phones.
because
So the
it's a heat issue. You need a gaming phone if you want to do serious gaming. You
Yeah,
need
so like
something with an extra fan to cool it off and power settings and wattages and all that shit.
yeah, so if you use your iPhone for gaming, like even on like the 13 Pro Max or whatever the flagship is, that you're gonna kill your battery pretty fast if
Yeah.
you do any sort of like long term gaming, other than like maybe pulling out Tetris or something while you're waiting for coffee or something like that. But like my point being is like I just don't get why gaming companies stop making portable consoles, because it seems like there could still be a market out there for that. But for what reason, everyone just assumes that, you know, gamers just use their
Oh,
phones and
I can tell you the actual reason. You want to know the actual reason?
why? Why?
Nintendo. Nintendo
What?
dominated the early handheld scene. When PSP stepped in the ring, it was offering something that they weren't doing. It was offering really competent 3D, better than anyone else out there. Because remember, there was the N-Gage, and there were other handhelds at the time. And then because Sega died, so Sega wasn't going to be making the Game Gear 2 or whatever. And then the DS came out, and the DS kind of had this cool, unique feature, but the graphics weren't as great as the PSP. The PSP was also a media machine. And then the 3DS came out, and it started to stranglehold on not only the DS market, what was left of the Game Boy market, but this new market it was creating. It had the Pokemons, it had all this all these flagship games, Mario Karts and all that. And PSP had a lot of games that had the stuff, but as they went into the PSP era, or I'm sorry, the PS Vita era, competing with the 3DS still in the new 3DS and all everything it did. The games were not supporting the system. They had like Call of Duty, they
Yeah.
had Marvel, they didn't have anything that was like killer apps that like mastered and utilized the system super well. And the touch screen, it was kind of gimmicky, but you could do things with it, but it was lacking the multiplayer style massive phenomenon games that Sony doesn't have the IP for, because Pokemon's a big fucking franchise, and Pokemon's only on one system. Mario Kart, big franchise because of the Wii, and it crosses over. Because if you like Mario Kart on the Wii and you have a Wii, you probably have a fucking DS or a 3DS, and that has a Mario Kart, and you can play that, but you can play it mobily. It was the catalog and lack of support from first party and Sony to really get good games. I'm not saying there weren't good games. There were absolutely
Right.
fantastic games on the Vita, but the kind of things that it needed to really hold strong with. And on top of it, it was a hacked system. It was hacked early, it was hacked often, just like the PSP. And yeah, they sold, but it really starts to have an effect. Now, don't get me wrong, 3DSs were pirated to hell and back with the R4 carts.
Yeah. That
But
that
it was ultimately the final switch was, well, it was a partial switch. Then Wii U, and Wii U was this hybrid of kind of portable, kind of not, and seeing how it recepted, and the handheld was still going. But then the Switch happened, and the Switch was undeniably going to dominate the handheld market,
yeah.
because it wasn't only a good handheld with good graphics, you could plug it into your TV like a regular console.
Yeah, no, that was that. I mean, I will admit, I haven't played. I've only played around with like the Switch at the store, and like I will admit that that's impressive. I I am hoping that like if something does come out with something like that in the future, that that's what they do. With with the PS5, I I do know that like you can kind of remote play some of your games with like an app on your phone, but again,
Yeah.
that goes
That's still
back to the
wireless. There's input lag, and yeah.
yeah. So
I don't think they will. Also, because it's the PS5, and this may be a little controversial to say, the PS5 is PS3 too. It
yeah,
is a testament to the ego and hubris of Sony because they got cocky with the PS4. And the only reason they fucking dominated with the PS4 is because Xbox shit the fucking bed.
yeah.
All,
Um,
all Sony had to do was go, hey guys, here's how you let other friends play your games on PlayStation. And he just hands them the fucking game. Done. Mic drop. That's it. You win everyone called it. They've won the generation. And they fucking did. And they thought
yeah,
just because they did the normal shit, because they were going to have some digital rights bullshit like that or always online. Xbox went first. They saw how it was going to go and they fucking nixed it hours before. Sony is just as bad as any fucking one else. But a lot of it, what's carried them is IPs and exclusives to an extent.
yeah.
The exclusivity deals with like Call of Duty help a lot, things like that. Only baseball games only being on PS4 was another big thing. Um,
Oh, really? I did not know that.
yeah, no, I worked at GameStop during that era, during the 15 release era.
See, I
The only baseball games were on PS4.
see. Just to kind of okay. So my gaming timeline was So my gaming timeline was honestly like I had the PS1, I had the PS2.
Oh, oh boy, connection errors. Oh dear. Uh, are we are we still live, chat? Oh dear, are we still live? I wonder. If he goes down, do I go down with him? That's the question that I am asking chat right now because I have no clue. Let me check the stream and check the health of the stream and see if it's live. Oh no, I think we're spinning. I think we're spinning. Are we spinning? Oh dear. No, we're not. We're good. Okay, so while I figure out a way to stall until my co-host returns, yeah, fuck it. Let's riff on Square Enix and their bullshit for a minute, chat, shall we? How you doing? My name's Akiba. I'm from a little city called Insomnia in the Kingdom of Lucis. You can find that world from Final Fantasy Versus 13 and Final Fantasy 15. Final Fantasy is a franchise near and dear to me, and god damn it, there's a Japanese company that doesn't want me to enjoy it. Oh my god, are we back? No, I'm not part of the.
Okay.
Oh my god. Okay, I was just about to rant to Final Fantasy. You saved everybody. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no, sorry about that. So as most people know, I live by an airport in Florida. Not trying to dock my location, but there are a couple airports in Florida, and for whatever reason, even though it's 1 a.m. here, an airplane just flew over, and yeah,
That'll do it. God damn. That is some rough
yeah.
living.
I mean, it's actually the one advantage is like as far as studios go for podcasting, my room is nice because we have soundproof glass, which basically means that like a lot of you know that like a lot of the soundproofing that I would need for a studio already comes kind of built in with the house, so that's nice.
That's not too bad. That's not too bad.
But yeah, so no, I got up to the point where you were saying I was starting to explain that basically like I've had all the PlayStation consoles except
Mm,
for the 4, and pretty much the only reason why I never had a 4 was because my life basically just got too busy for gaming.
yeah,
Uh,
it happens.
so like now that I have the PS5, it's interesting because I'm in the rare category, but now
Yeah,
I'm
you are.
also like I've been playing catch up for ironically with like all of the PS4 games
Mm.
that I missed. So And also, what's your theory on why the PS5 is? Because like the one criticism I do have with the PS5, ironically, is that because no one else has it, like, or because very few people have it, like none of my friends can play on it,
Yeah.
or someone
Um
unless they're here with me. So, was that just another COVID thing, or what happened there?
um I think it's a little of column A, column B. I think there were probably some shortage problems. There tend to be at console launches, and of course, COVID certainly didn't help anything. The transistor shortage certainly didn't help anything. Um, but the problem is that even whether or not it was artificially created scarcity, it you the scarcity only works if there's really good stuff that people want to play.
Yeah,
And exclusives are important not for the console's lifespan, but more so for launch, because those are what help really move the hardware. Um it's I mean, I've been getting emails like, "Oh, here's your invitation to come buy a PS5." And I'm like, "No, thanks. I'm good.
right.
I'm not at that price." That's because, and I think that's why I'm at this weird place with exclusives now, where the only reason why I still have consoles, I think, to an extent, is because there are certain games you just can't easily replay on. It's not been ported or anything like that, or they
Yeah,
were console exclusive, like Metal Gear Solid 4, um and things like that, or Bloodborne. Like Bloodborne's PS4, you can't play Bloodborne on PC. It's just, I mean, you can stream it, but then you have some input latency lag, by using PS Now. And then you don't get access to the DLC, and the DLC is some of the best content in the game. um
yeah,
like my PS4 was bought because I had moved in with a dude I had met on Craigslist, and he had a PS4. And I said, "Hey man, there's this game that's like coming out that kind of excited for. You think I could maybe like use your PS4 or something? I'll give you 20, 30, 40 fucking bucks, or buy a fucking beer, whatever." And it's like, "Yeah, man, no worries." So um he used my TV, and his PS4 was hooked up. He has his TV in his room. So I used that to play Bloodborne, because Bloodborne was one of the games I really wanted to play on PS4, and I fell in love.
right.
I fell in hard love. And then Death Stranding came out, and Death Stranding was fantastic. I fell in love with Death Stranding. I think it's a masterpiece of a game that's not for everyone. Um but that then went to that then went to PC. So like fuck. Okay, shit. You got the extended director's cut on PS5 too. But for me, at that point, then the PS4 really only became, it went from being a Bloodborne Death Stranding machine, kind of a Final Fantasy 7 um what is part remake, Final Fantasy 7 remake machine. But then I played remake and I don't want to ever touch it again. Death Stranding came out on PC, so it's back to being a Bloodborne machine. And then came the opportunity to hack it, and I'm like, well, I do kind of like playing Bloodborne online, but the stuff I can get from a hacked PS4 is so much better. So I got the Bloodborne Alpha,
Gotcha.
I got the Elden Ring network test, I got PT out of it. There was nothing for me to want to be part of the Sony ecosystem other than one game. And for a console, I would hope that's not the case. And it's weird because I never thought in my life I would own, like, back when the Wii U was coming out, people would call it the Bayonetta box because Bayo 2 was on it, or they would call the Xbox One the Killer Instinct box.
Yeah,
Then I found myself in that position, and it's kind of that same thing now where, and there were games I slept on, like the PS4 Ratchet and Clank game and stuff like that, But with the PS5, I look at it and we've been, God, what, over a year now of release?
Yeah.
Well over a year of
Yeah.
release. And the
Yeah.
only games I can think of are Ratchet and Clank, Demon Souls Remastered, and is there another exclusive PS5 game?
Yeah, there are a few actually. Or there are a few that aren't out yet, but they're coming up. So my favorite title, and this was originally why I really wanted a PS4,
Mhm.
was Insomniac's Spider-Man, which
Oh
listen,
fuck! Oh my
part of
god,
me
I'm so
is
stupid. Yeah.
which is both a comic book fan and a you know, and a gaming fan. Like holy shit, like the the version of Spider-Man that they have on the PlayStation is what they needed to do with Spider-Man in in the MCU. I'm
Yeah.
sorry to the MCU fans out there, but like the PS4 Spider-Man is so much better as a character than the MCU
It's one of the best
Spider-Man.
Peter Parkers. It's one of the best Peter
Yeah.
Parkers, easy.
Um.
And I loved Spider-Man going back to the first PS1 game.
Oh yeah, me
That was
too.
where I got started with Spider-Man games. I fucking loved
Yes,
that game.
yes. Well, and that was the other thing was like those games are all actually based on the comics, not based on. I mean, technically, yes, I know the movies are also based on the comics, but like
Oh yeah.
for a while, the Spider-Man games were just only based on the movies, and
It was
so it's nice
pre-movie.
to.
It was pre our first taste of Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Yeah, and then that was the other thing back in the day too was like you never wanted to play the video game until you saw the movie because the game would spoil the
Often
movie
retell the movie. Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But no, like I remember like I wanted to get PS4 at the time so I could play Spider-Man exclusively. That was another exclusive. And so
When
I
it
looked
was
at
an
PS
exclusive, it was one of the best on the system. I agree. Yeah.
yeah. Oh wait, it's not exclusive anymore?
It's coming to PC
Oh.
and Miles Morales.
Well, yeah, although I think Spider-Man 2 because they're coming out with Spider-Man number
Oh,
2 now.
yeah, Spider-Man.
That's
It might be a console launch exclusive first,
yes.
like FF7 was.
um, but like my point in thinking that it was I wanted a PS4 and then looking at the price it was like, well, I might as well wait for a PS5 because they're basically the same price and this one is newer, which
Yeah,
was weird because I was like, "Oh, great! I'll wait for everyone to get a PS5, and then I'll just get a PS4. And I'll only be one generation behind." But then it's like, nope. You might as well get the new console because it's the same price as the old one, which is
yeah.
weird. So
It's
yeah,
Sony's just bad about. Sony's just bad at business sometimes. What can I say?
that's kind of the point though. Is from what I've kind of gathered, coming back to gaming after all these years, it kind of seems like the entire gaming industry. It seems like for as large as the gaming industry is, the entire thing has kind of shit the bed almost.
I mean, I'd say the only one who hasn't is Nintendo. I mean, Nintendo's Nintendo and they're fucking scumbag Yakuza basically, but they have a very high install base. They have a very high player base. Their fans are rabid. They are loyal. They have massive exclusives you can only get on the system, and it moves the consoles, and people play these games together, and they want to get in on it. And it's that old. The thing is too, is because think of it like this: couch co-op barely exists for PlayStation, and Xbox, right? Barely exists.
Yeah, you can't you really can't because again, P2P now requires PS Plus, which pisses me off. But yeah, that's a
So let me
yeah.
phrase you then in the ways that the young ones may not know exactly how it was for us, but those on Nintendo still do, because the Switch is a portable system. So they take it
Yeah.
and they play Pokemon locally with their friends in person. They play games over local co-op in person. They hook up multiple controllers to one fucking screen and play next to each other. There is something within Nintendo that has been able to find that market of the cross between gameplay in person as well as a semi-shitty network service. But it's that they still support communication. So, you know, you have all these kids who they fucking play Monster Hunter on their Switch, or they play Pokemon on their Switch, and they play with each other at school and all this. And you get that much higher install base than you would with a PS4 or an Xbox, because there's more on top of the portability and things like that.
There's definitely something to be said for all that, man. So can't
Yeah.
argue there.
I'd say, and
Uh,
that's the only reason why I think they aren't shitting the bed, is that they've still got that edge to them, because PS4 or PS and Xbox are just getting so close to PCs now that it, and with studios releasing stuff on PC, you know, Xbox with the Game Pass and PS4 with their, or PlayStation with their PC development studio now. I don't know how the market's going to look for those two. Nintendo's going
yeah,
to be doing Nintendo. I don't know about those two.
what's weird though, also with like PC releases is like, and maybe it's not the case now, but like I remember when I was a kid, and even just like a few years ago, like if you bought a game for a PC, like more often than not, they were notoriously broken. Like a prime example was, as we talked
Mm.
a few weeks ago. Well, I mean, this may be kind of a bad example because the game was just broken overall, but Cyberpunk 2049 was just broken
Wait, which one?
over. Cyberpunk 2049.
You mean 2077?
Yeah. Oh yeah, 2077. Sorry, I
Okay.
was thinking of the stupid Blade Runner sequel.
Oh
Sorry.
yeah, yeah, no,
Yeah,
no, no. Yeah. I was about to say,
2077. Yeah.
wait a second, we playing the pen and paper? We doing Cyberpunk Red? God damn, let's do it. Shit. That game was selectively broken. I put in over 110 hours. I love that game. It's one of my favorite games of all time, and it was not broken for me at all. I know it was real bad on console. I feel real bad for the console people. But PC was, from what I remember, a mixed bag. That's why I bought physical. I bought my copy of Cyberpunk physical from Best Buy.
Yeah, that was probably smart. I think one of my he's probably not watching, but uh one of my subs who I stream with on occasion, Simple Reloaded. I remember he bought Cyberpunk 2077 on PC, and I remember he tried to do a stream of him playing it, and he rage quit the stream, and it was actually justified because the game shit the bed, and I guess it was working like prior to him launching the stream, and then yeah, it just he had everything set
It
up perfectly, and
I do
it just
consider
went down
myself
the
lucky.
tubes.
I don't know how I had a mid power range, like a mid strength PC. So I don't know how I managed to hit that beautiful in between where my experience was pretty bug free and no glitches and no major problems, and most AI was okay, and I didn't notice any fucking problems because it was like, dude, wake up, 8 hours, 9 hours Cyberpunk, go to sleep, wake up, 8 hours, 9 hours Cyberpunk, go to sleep, wake up. It was one of those games. Um,
Oh yeah,
so it's but there are it for consoles, it's absolutely atrocious what happens. And the thing is, there are PC games that do get kind of released bad, but you see it more often on console because for PC they always like to use early access.
yeah. Well, no, I remember because I missed out on the PS because I didn't have a PS4. I still had a PC at the time when I first moved to Florida. So
Mm.
I was gonna try and buy Batman Arkham Knight at the time when it came out for the PC, and then they actually pulled the PC release because it was so broken, and
Yeah, I remember that.
I don't think they actually released it. So ironically, like I had to wait, close to 7 years to play it, but I finally beat um Arkham Knight, and I know that people shit on that as like the worst in the franchise, but it's still a good Batman game, and it's the one we're gonna have for a while because Gotham Knights or whatever it is in development hell right now. So
Yeah, yeah, there's lots of games stuck in development hell right now.
yeah,
GTA is stuck in development hell right now.
yeah. So what in the chat actually brought up a good point earlier. He says never pre-order games because that's a disaster. And yeah, I think we oh god, yeah. Arkham City was one of those games that had like notoriously bad pre-order um problems.
I hate pre-order bonuses. I think I think it's the worst. I
Yeah,
think it's
no,
because
yeah.
if there's a game you end up liking and there was something that was a pre-order bonus and you're not playing on a hacked console and you can't unlock it in any way, you are screwed. And it is the worst thing because all you want is to just have every. That's why I like Elden Ring so goddamn much. I paid $60. I downloaded the video game. Everything in the video game was able for me to obtain.
Yep. Yeah, no, in regards to the whole DLC shit, what's weird to me is like I remember when DLC first came out, it was cool. It was cool because like you would have like a complete game on its own, right? During the PS3 era.
Mm-hmm.
And then like this was early on in the PS3 era as well. You would have like you would have a complete game, but then you would have like but then you would have the DLC, which would be like extra stuff if you wanted, but it would be like mostly be optional.
Yeah.
And now there are games where like the game isn't complete without the DLC, and it's like
I mean, it
what?
depends on for what kind of person and what they kind of want. I think the biggest slap in the fucking face was when Street Fighter Cross Tekken released. I think there were pre-order characters or the first DLC characters, and they were on the disc's data, but you had to
Yeah.
buy that extra $7 to unlock the code for the thing on the disc that was locked from you. That if you in 20, 30, 40 years, when you hook up when you hook up at 360 and you can try to connect it to the net and you boot up Street Fighter Cross Tekken because you're an insane person living in 2050 playing Street Fighter Cross Tekken, you're going to have characters on that disc that you will never unlock and never can unlock. And that is the shittiest fucking thing in the world.
You also want to know what's shitty too is speaking of bad gaming companies is so ironically, just like everything else Star Wars, like LucasArts, the gaming company used to be good.
Yep.
And then when Disney bought it, just like everything Star Wars, it all went to shit because
Mm-hmm.
as I think you and I you might have been the one I had this conversation with. But like I had to explain to one of the neighbor kids that like no,
Yeah.
Battlefront 2 no. No, kid. There was a different version of
The
Battlefront
real
2
Battlefront 2.
when I was a kid, and it was actually good, and it was actually good. Yeah, it wasn't as graphically impressive, but you could you could do more in that game,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Um, which is which was the case for that's why when people talk out, oh, a Knights of the Old Republic remake is coming.
Oh no.
I'm like, dear God, please, no.
I remember hearing them hiring a writer and the writer saying that she like hates Star Wars fans or some stupid shit or being one
Oh
of those
yeah,
kinds of people, and I'm
they
like, don't touch the fucking writing.
yeah. It's the same person who wrote the High Star Wars: The High Republic, who was like, I hate Star Wars. It was like, this is Star Wars, not meant for Star Wars fans, and it's like what?
Oh my god.
Again, this is going back to like the whole Gamergate thing of like, okay, why are you writing Star Wars shit if you're not into Star Wars? Like, why?
People want to
Because of
hijack something
politics.
that's not
Yeah.
theirs and spread a fucking message, or it's oh my god. So I guess to rewind on this whole thing, does Gamergate still matter? Yeah, because they're still pushing bullshit down our throats and affecting creators and how they create things.
Yeah, now see, the problem is now is like everyone in Gamergate except for Jim, I mean, I don't want to seem like I'm sucking daddy Jim's.
Hold on. I need to correct. There is no Gamergate anymore. That is a dead fucking movement. But the remnants of the people who were a part
Yeah.
of, I know what you mean. Yeah.
The remnants of Gamergate seem to mostly be dysfunctional, except for Jim, who's off laughing in the corner hysterically at anything and everything.
I mean, that's how Jim was when he walked away. He walked away saying "fuck you," laughing, because the grift ruined what the movement was about, and that's why he didn't like grifting. He didn't get, because he understood like it also affects and things like that. But it's like now it's like it's already too fucking late. They're in games, they're in comic books, they're in movies, they're in Blues Clues, they're in children's television, running pride parades on Blues Clues.
Oh
It's
my God.
we're
Yeah.
in the clown world. We're in the fucking clown world. There's no reason to even
Yeah, I've got to
like.
yeah, I've got to share some stuff with you about that once we're off air too. But
Oh
yeah,
boy.
it's gotten bad.
Mhm.
But
And
yeah,
all we
and
can do is hope that shit that things get better, but it doesn't seem likely because of these people who are getting into these positions who are part of academia who have been taught this kind of fucking mindset. That's why you'll have the thing where you'll have the transsexual fucking the dude, or the dude fucking the transsexual in The Last of Us Part 2, and that's okay to play uncensored in America on PS4, but in Devil May Cry you better have a beam of light that censors the ass of the hot chick or her breasts, God
what
forbid.
what the fuck?
Yeah,
It's
yeah. They forced North American censorship for DMC5 to cover ass crack and I think booby cleavage. But
yeah. Oh
meanwhile, a
my
dude
God.
is fucking railing a transsexual in The Last of Us Part 2. The
Yeah,
same one that killed the person that everybody loved from The Last of Us 1. And God, that is the perfect fucking metaphor for all of it. Abby beating Joel over the head with a golf club is a perfect metaphor for how things feel nowadays.
yeah, it's just really sad, and it's just really sad and really tragic. And people say, "Oh no, there's no agenda. None of this is agenda based. You're all just transphobic and homophobic and ist." And it's like, yeah, I'm gonna take
It's
a
like
hard.
it's like I don't give a fuck. Just don't censor creators. Don't make creators feel they have to do one thing or another when creating a type of fucking character.
Yeah,
Jim
them.
talked about it, about the person that bitched at the Japanese dude in Dragon's Crown, who said that the giant titty witch lady, the tall giant titty witch, meant that you like fucking child porn and shit. Like it's pearl clutching, virtue signaling in the worst fucking regard. And it does affect these companies because it affects the money. And so that's
Yeah.
why you see Capcom saying, let's stay away from Zelda and Mario style roles and let's look towards Last of Us Part 2 and Life is Strange to hit for the LGBTQ representation demographic.
Yeah, and it's like, again, do those people who are like, I mean, I guess sure some of them play games, but it's like, are you even appealing to a market that plays the game?
I mean, that's the thing. That person that bitched about the design and saying, crazy shit, they probably don't play the game. They probably, I
Ex-
mean, most of these people
yeah,
that bitch probably fucking don't, but they're the ones that make their voice hurt. Just like back in the old days of broadcast television, oh, think of the children mom groups.
yeah, it's just like that.
Yeah, that caused bullshit with radio, that caused bullshit with TV, that were the whole reason that the 90s counterculture started.
Yeah, yeah, and the sad thing is now all the '90s counterculture people, well, not all of them, but the vast majority of them, like Howard Stern, are the same ones who are like, wear a mask, you fucking weird, you fucking Trump supporting hater,
Everybody is so political, and I don't mind political games. I love Metal Gear Solid. Those games are political as fuck. Like you could even say fucking Final Fantasy has some political elements in it, right? But that
Sure.
doesn't mean they can't be entertaining, but not everything has to be it, and not everybody involved with the hobby has to talk about it or care about it.
The the other thing is, like, someone brought this point up too, is like all these jokes and like pop culture references to Trump that, like we know now because they're culture relevant, but like think 20, 30 years down the line, like when our kids theoretically are playing these games, like a lot of these inside jokes, they're not going to get at all
Oh yeah.
because, you know, because the time has passed and, you know, some of these references are just like so minute that they're not they just a lot of this a lot of this current culture stuff is not going to age well in the future.
No, it's not going to be entertaining. It's going to be looked at in the same way that early or that 80s culture presented itself in media through a clean sanitized lens when we all know it wasn't. That led into the 90s,
Right.
that kind of kick-started the kind fucking WWE, man. Like before the Attitude Era. It was all fucking take your vitamins, Hulksters, and then fucking we hit the Attitude Era, and you're getting fucking dick chops from the Generation X and shit.
Yeah.
It's that same shit, and I think we're at the point now where it's just the ones kind of pushing the sanitized or think of the children in any sort of way or this, that, and the other. You got to teach them young or any of this shit is just the most aggressive form of these mom groups because they take up such a massive part of the public square that is the internet. And considering that the internet is not a true public square in which people can just be taken out at a whim, the ones who don't get banned are the ones who speak the loudest, and the ones who speak the loudest are the ones who get noticed, and the ones who get noticed are the ones who shape how these companies and how this shit goes forward until the money hits and they're like, it ain't worth it.
Yeah, I know. Even I hate to say it, but like even on things like Discord, like I have to be honest, man, I've been banned from Discord like 3 different times. Just over one of them, the first time I got banned wasn't for anything even really that bad. I got banned because I was in a server that like I was in a server that was like somewhat tied to Gavin McGinnis. It wasn't tied to the Proud Boys. I want to
Mm,
state that clearly for the record. It was not tied to the Proud Boys. It was
mm,
simply a it was simply a Discord where like people who watched his podcast on Compound back in the day
yeah.
could like hang out.
Yeah.
But because it was Gavin McGinnis and because and because of the George Floyd thing, not only did they shut down the Discord, they permabanned everyone's account who was in the Discord. So like I had to DM Apex, and fortunately, like I had his cell phone number by then, so like I actually could text him and say, "Hey man, I got yeeted off of Discord, and my whole entire account is gone."
Mm.
So and then again, my second Discord got yeeted because I was in a Discord where like someone used a racial epithet, and I
Mm.
wasn't the one that did it, but because I was in a server where it happened, the whole
Right.
thing again got so now it's guilt by association. And at least with Discord, like you basically can't appeal shit. Like you can, but it's pointless. They'll basically
Yeah.
say, "Oh, fuck you," basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, so yeah, much like Jim, I miss the old internet when people didn't take themselves so seriously.
Oh yeah,
And
I miss pre-net 2.0. Those were the good days.
yeah, and now in regards to this whole NFT thing, I'm sorry, but Web3, I'm I am I'm someone who is pretty technically savvy, but even I don't understand what the fuck is going on with all this
There's so much
Web3 shit.
smoke and mirrors. I don't know. I mean, we're still, don't get me wrong, we're still in the fucking infancy of the internet, even though it's been 20 fucking years or more.
Uh,
So who
well,
knows how much worse it's gonna get? I hope Jimbo is a little too black pilled for his own good, and we don't go to real ID. But man, I see it possible.
the yeah, no, the well, that was the other interesting thing about that interview too that Medicare did was the real ID thing is like that's something that like 10 years ago people would have never said, "Oh, that'll never happen." But with the way
Oh
things
yeah,
have gone, I'm just like, yeah, I hope that doesn't happen, but there's a very real possibility that it might happen.
China. China
Oh
is
yeah.
what happens when you get that. Europe is what happens when you get that. There are dudes who you can't sign up for Discord if you're under 13, and the government connects your ID to your internet so they know that you're not 13, so you can't just sign up for Twitter or whatever. Like it's some insane shit.
Yeah,
And that's the thing is like it's anonymity is good. It allows for that whole fuck up thing, but it just allows in some ways for people to be more honest. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't. It's that same kind of reactionary. Think of the children, or for your safety, and this, that, and the other. And don't get me wrong. I understand some things are for my safety, and some are. I'll take it and leave it here and there.
yeah,
But in terms of like, and maybe it's just because this is the fucking world I came up in, and it's gonna be more easier to change that mindset with the generations that grow up if you slowly implement it properly. But for me and how I came up, I already give up way
the
too much of my anonymity online, just
yeah,
through logs and shit.
no, same here. Well, listen, as I explained to people, the whole reason why I have the whole reason why I ha- I have my face online wasn't because I'm stupid. It's because when I started doing political commentary,
Mm-hmm.
that was kind of the thing that everyone did online. You could actually be online and talk politics and use your real name, and
Yeah,
people wouldn't. In fact, it was kind of like one of those things where like if you had a goofy like pen name online, like people wouldn't take you seriously
yeah,
if you were in
for sure.
politics, right? So it was kind of like if you wanted to write for a publication or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
you couldn't use like Gamerman 95 or anything like that, right? Because
Right.
people would be like, who's this? Get him out of here or something
Well, it's
like.
like the old names in Nintendo Power and EGM and shit, where the reviewers would have like handles or whatever. And it was just a way to like blend in different writers for different shit.
Right. But I mean, I guarantee you that like if I started this now, oh yeah, I'd probably definitely like, be more anonymous and have like, just for shits and grins, like I have thought of like making an avatar. Even though everyone knows I am just like kind of creating a persona
Yeah.
as like a cyborg man or something. I don't know. Um, but anyway, so Apex never showed up for
Yeah, the
gaming news,
fucking the punk. What the fuck? We do got some gaming news if you want to
but
go through it here at the tail end.
sure.
Okay, so first up, Final Fantasy X series shipments and digital sales top 20.8 million. So this concludes with Final Fantasy X's original series and the Final Fantasy X HD remaster that has been on PS3, Vita, Switch, PC, Xbox, PS4, every modern console it can go on. Nothing crazy about it. Just that's a lot of FF10. And I love me some Final Fantasy X. I think
Yeah.
Final Fantasy X is probably my favorite. Like top to bottom. 7 was kind of my first real dip into Final Fantasy, but 10 hit me so hard that even to this day, there are scenes in that game that will absolutely make me break down and cry. It is. I still look at that game going, wow, this game looks really good. And I'm playing it on my PS2. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's how I feel about the Max Payne series.
Oh yeah. And Max Payne
The
too is
first
also one of those things that aged so gracefully. Absolutely well.
Yeah, but my God doesn't need a remaster. Anyway,
True.
continuing on.
It had a PC release.
Yeah.
So continue on. Yakuza 8. We have seen the first off-screen development footage, and Japanese fighter Mikuru Asakura is slated to appear. I'm a big fan of the Yakuza, otherwise known as Ryuga Gotoku in Japanese, which means like a dragon, which is where they've decided to rename the RPG side of that game. For whatever reason, or I think it was Yakuza Like a Dragon instead of the 7th game. But they've announced or shown off that they're working on 8 and that they're going to have a particular fighter. They're showing some more returning characters, and yeah, very cool. I'm a big fan of that series. It's a great beat 'em up, open world beat 'em up genre. It turned into a great RPG. And it always uses great actors. It has great graphic tech. There's a fucking scene in 7 where the dude eats some bread, and it is the fucking craziest bread eating physics you have ever seen in your goddamn life in a video game. It is amazing.
Wow,
Uh
just eating bread, huh?
dude, because you look at how he's eating the bread and how the bites are going and and you're like, how the fuck are they pulling that off in engine? That's insane, and it looks fucking amazing.
Yeah, facial capture, whatever it's called, has come a long way.
Yeah,
So,
and then just model manipulation, like the real. Like that's one thing I love about FF7 or 15. 15. It had such realistic looking food, and there are games that certainly put it towards that. But yeah,
oh
that's the
yeah,
Yakuza news. Here's a
cool.
quick one. The Wii U and 3DS Nintendo eShops are set to close down on March 27th of 2023.
Wah wah.
So if there's anything you want on the 3DS or the Wii U, just fucking hack it. And if there's anything not on the internet that is going to disappear forever, buy it and archive it for the sake of everybody. Thank you.
Yep. So I guess the saying, if it's on the internet, it always exists, doesn't always ring true, huh?
Oh, absolutely. There is shit that is lost to time. Like unless somebody has archived it, and even then, that archive has to last. And it's a miracle some stuff survives the time capsule of the internet. It can
Yeah.
stuff can with how vast the sea of the internet is. Oh yeah, no, things can disappear. But yeah. Next in the news, if I'm not mistaken, Live Alive released for the Nintendo Switch, the remake of the famous RPG Live Alive for the Super Nintendo. Very cool. I'm glad that's gotten a remake. It's deserved it. It is a legendary RPG. I played the demo. It looks super good. Don't know if I'll pick it up. We'll see. Maybe on a sale, but if there's a physical copy, I might be a little bit more willing. Also, I don't know how much the price is. That's probably something to check. But yeah, that is
Yeah.
this week's releases. Oddworld Soulstorm, Oddtomized edition is coming to the Nintendo Switch. I love the Oddworld series. I loved Abe's Odyssey, Abe's Exodus, Munch's Odyssey. I love all of the Oddworld games, and Soulstorm was really good, and it's cool to see it on Switch because now more people can play Oddworld, and that's great. This is one of my fucking favorite franchises.
Yeah.
And if you pre-order, I think you get if you pre-order, is it a limited? Oh, there are different versions. There's a standard edition, the limited edition, which is 3 art cards and a custom game case, so you can hold all your Switch games. Kind of useful. And then there is a Switch collector's edition with the game case, a statue, keychain, the art pieces, an art book, stickers, and a hand tattoo that I assume is removable. That is pretty cool.
Wow.
That is, yeah. I wouldn't buy it because I don't need trinkets like that, but that is cool. I'm glad to see that series getting love. I fucking mark out over Oddworld.
Yeah, I remember again, just like you go back to Final Fantasy all the time. I guess I always go back to the Arkham series.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the Arkham series. I think it was for the Arkham City Game of the Year edition. They did something similar with that, where like where like you got like 3 different disc cases and whatnot. You got a couple of like, tattoos or something like that. But then they actually had like a Batarang replica too that looked really cool. So,
Mm.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
No, it's I don't blame you. I'm gonna start expecting the Arkham returns more often now. You can counter my Final Fantasy with that.
Yeah. So,
But yeah, no, that's cool. I love those series. Lauren Lanning's a fucking genius director.
yeah.
And just what he was doing in the industry back then was fantastic. Even on the PS1. Also, mark your calendars because Bayonetta Switch is coming to the Nintendo Switch on October 28th, and there was a trailer released around 10 days ago, and it looks good. I love Bayonetta. I love Platinum Games. Um, I need to see what editions are there going to be, if any, and then I'll probably just cave and buy the regular one because I don't need extra bullshit.
I
But that's going to
actually
be
Bayonetta is actually a game that I've played. I don't have a Nintendo obviously, but I've played at a neighbor's house and it's a cool game. So,
it is it's like Devil May Cry. It's very
yeah.
stylish, very cool. And it's Bayonetta 3 has been in development for so long, so for it to not only have been announced not that long ago, and finally we have our release date, I'm excited. I'm sure it's going to be good. I'm not expecting much, so it's going to be easy to please.
Cool.
Last one. Oh dear, did I lose it? Oh, yes. Negotiations have come to a close, and it is official. Sony now, or PlayStation, I guess, owns Bungie.
I heard about that. What's Bungie?
Bungie they're the people that made Halo originally, and then they made
Oh,
Destiny.
so wait. I thought that no, I know. I remember when I was a kid that Halo was a Microsoft exclusive for the
Yeah,
Xbox for
because
So
they
then,
bought and basically owned Bungie. They funded Bungie to make their exclusive.
so then is Halo now going to be a PlayStation exclusive?
No, because Bungie lost Halo to Microsoft. I don't remember exactly how. And then Microsoft opened up its own studio house 343
Oh,
to
right.
develop. And that was after Reach. So Halo 4 and onwards were developed by Microsoft's custom put together team 343. Bungie then went on to do Destiny originally as an exclusive, I think originally exclusive, for PS4.
Interesting.
And then they did Destiny 2, and X343 has had so many fucking problems and can barely get games out the door, and Halo Infinite's travesty, and yeah. So
Well, cool.
it's interesting. I don't know if Destiny has what it takes to really stand hard and true and bring people to PlayStation, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, again, part of it is going to be the availability of the PlayStation, right? Because you know, now we're facing the problem of like all these games like Gotham Knights and like Spider-Man 2 are
Mm.
now we have the problem of there are people who can't get the PS5 and can't get the Xbox, One, uh, or whatever Xbox's console
I
is
don't even
now.
fucking know that
Um,
the Series X, I think the Xbox Series X, I think
oh
is what
yeah,
the new console is.
the Xbox Series X. But point being is there's all there are all these new releases coming out in like 20 at the end of this year and beginning of next year that are
Mm-hmm.
going to be available for I guess, next gen slash current gen, basically this newest gen of console only.
A,
And there are a lot.
a lot of them are stopping development on last gen because the gap is too big for them to make the same kind of game for each version for each console. Yeah.
Yeah, but there, there's still the problem of not enough people can get the PS5, not enough people can get the
Mm-hmm.
Series X. So yeah, it'll be it's gonna be tough for game development studios, man.
Well, and I think that's why
So
there's each side of it is starting to go towards um PC releases, because that way the
yeah,
studios that they have all bought can still make them money somehow, even if consoles don't move. If they're selling the games on PC, at least to an extent, they can keep the developers working on stuff, and things will keep moving.
yeah.
So
So
now it's starting to be each console is going to have their PC counterpart. Xbox has its PC counterpart, PlayStation has its PC counterpart. They're both dipping in and grabbing the PC market while still trying to maintain some sort of a console market hold. And I think Xbox is doing it better because they have better cross-plat and crossplay.
yeah.
Um, and
Well,
Game Pass is doing some numbers.
oh really?
Yeah, that's why Sony's trying to copy their model, and they're working on revamping their online service costs and trying to work in
Yeah.
a Game Pass style thing. And that'll be interesting.
They desperately need to do that because man, I'm certainly not gonna pay for PS Now, whatever it's called, and no one else that I know is paying for
I did for
PS
a bit.
Now.
I did for a bit. And
What
it's
let me guess, it's dog shit.
if you can download the games, it's fine. If you stream the games, it's kind of It doesn't quite feel right. Just something is off about it. Um, like for PS3 stuff, I get it. You can't like do that, but there were certain games that like Parappa 2 or Red Faction 2 had some PS4 kind of retouches, and then there was just other games I didn't buy physical and stuff like that. And it was like, yeah, okay, but I kind of play stuff a little here and there. And I just really wasn't getting the most out of it because it was just, I was looking at single player
Yeah.
games. Like that's what I
Right.
played Spider-Man on through PS Now.
No,
I
me
downloaded and played
too.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
But
and
for Game
well,
Pass,
so that
I see a lot better benefit.
yeah. So I mean, that is the one thing I will say is I'm glad there's kind of the thing of people liking to play single player games again because man, for a while, part of the reason why I stopped gaming was because when I left, the gaming market just became oversaturated with multiplayer
I
games.
think
And
it still
then
is.
I mean it is, but
It's a
I
little
feel like
better.
it's not as I feel like it's not as much. Let me put it this way, it's still oversaturated like crazy, but at least now there's at least something for us who
Mm,
like single player games, whereas
yeah.
before there really wasn't anything. So, um, what was that? Is that all the news on your end?
Yep. That is all the news on my end.
Well, I
We are coming
actually
just
have
shy under 3 hours. Oh,
yeah.
what do you got?
I actually have two pieces of news too.
Oh, by all means.
One that you might know of, one you might not, but the trailer for John Wick 4, chapter 4 just dropped.
I did
At,
see Hideo Kojima retweet something about that. I have not seen it yet.
have you okay, so have you seen any of the John Wick movies?
I have seen John Wick 1 and 2.
Okay, yeah, I'm a massive fan of that entire series.
Don't
John Wick
ask me why I didn't
3,
get to 3, but I am a fan too. I like it, and then I've heard some stuff about 3 is like I'm going to just wait a little longer until I'm ready to cross
I
that
mean,
bridge.
I mean, I think enough. John Wick 3 isn't bad. It's good. It's just I think the way they marketed 3, in my opinion, was bad because they made it seem like it was going to be a they made it seem like the John Wick movies were going to be a trailer, and then or no, a trilogy. Sorry.
Mm,
They made it seem like John Wick was going to be a trilogy, so people I think went 3 expecting expecting it to be the end, and then like partway through the movie, you're like, "Oh wait, no, this isn't going to be." There are way too many loose ends, but I mean, I guess the way they marketed it, it seemed a little deceptive. So, but overall, it's pretty good. That was my only problem with it was deceptive marketing a bit. So,
yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I think I just other things got to me, but now that 4 is going to come out, well, okay, well, there's the excuse to redo 1 and 2, watch 3, and then go into 4. And I'm
yeah,
like, that's okay. Because John Wick was one of my favorite characters to use in Payday 2. So,
yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, he
Wick was in
did have
Payday, yeah.
a yeah, well, and then like so I have to admit I'm not like an anime fan, but I am a fan of like Japanese Hong Kong action cinema.
Mm.
So, and John Wick basically like pays homage to
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of those. So
It's
that's
woo
just
as fuck,
fun.
yeah.
And then I mean, I know that yes, I know everyone loves Keanu, but I will say that like in my opinion, and I'm sorry Matrix fans, you guys kind of fucked yourselves with Matrix 4, but uh, Keanu is better as John Wick than as Neo, in my opinion. It the
Um,
Matrix.
You mean new Neo or old Neo?
Uh, just overall in general, I like the character John Wick more than I like
Oh
Neo.
well, yeah, no, that's just preference of character then.
But
I'll
yeah,
I'll
no.
I'll see your John Wick and I'll raise you my favorite Keanu character is Johnny Silverhand from Cyberpunk.
Well, okay, okay. Well, yeah, that's
But he's cool with how he's
fair.
written. He's not cool because of what he
Shit,
does. John Wick is
I,
cool because of what he does.
yeah. John Wick would be shit. I am really surprised that they haven't made like a John Wick video game yet. Just saying.
They did, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Uh, I want to say, yeah, it was called John Wick Hex, and it's kind of like this top-down strategy game. I think turn-based
Oh
strategy
yeah,
game.
yeah. It's one of those. No, I mean like an actual like Hitman style, shooter type of
There should
game.
have been a John Wick Hitman crossover. That's what there should have been, because nobody's going to do Hitman better than Hitman's
Oh my
currently doing it.
god. Yeah.
Hitman's at the peak of their series.
Yeah. Oh god. Hitman is actually one of those games where like people think, oh, it's just a shooter, and it's like, no,
No,
you actually
it's
need
a
to.
it's a good.
It's a strategy game
It's a James Bond simulator, is what it is.
on steroids.
On steroids with a chicken costume. You're goddamn right. I love it. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna fucking front. I knew of Hitman, never played it. I guess what game I came in on for Hitman. Guess what was my first?
Absolution,
Oh my god, how did you call it?
because guess what my first Hitman game was?
Really?
Yes.
Oh my god. Okay. And
Well,
so you know what people say about Absolution, right?
is it, no.
They people I mean, it's kind of a split camp, and it's some people just being diehard Hitman fanatics, but they say that Absolution is the worst in the series
Oh yeah, I have her.
because
I have.
it's so kind of linear and shit.
Yeah, no, I've heard that. For me, the reason I got into it was because at the time my friends had kept like trying to get me to play it, and it wasn't because I hated the idea of Hitman. I was just like, yeah, like it's not super high on my priority list,
Hmm.
right? And then people just kept nagging me out, and it was like, okay, fine, I'll play as your fucking bald-headed fuckhead assassin, okay? Fine. And then I got Absolution, and I was like, holy shit, this is actually fun. So,
Mine was started from watching a two best friends machinima video. I was like, that
oh,
game looks fucking cool. And then I got it and I was like, this game's fucking cool. And then I didn't touch Hitman when it came out, when the relaunch happened, but then I picked up Hitman 2.
yeah.
And I was like, and then I started reading, and people are saying, like, this is the true return to form. Like, one of the YouTubers I watched, Super Bunny Hop, was reviewing the games, and it was his reviews that kind of got me thinking, well, I did like Absolution, and these seem pretty cool. So, okay, let me try it. And then I fell in love with it because if the current iterations of Hitman are the truest forms of the genre and what it's supposed to be, oh my god, I can understand why people would say Absolution's bad in comparison.
Yeah. Well, and is Square Enix, if I'm not mistaken, also develops Hitman, right?
They owned the IP and the studio for many years. Part of those years were the Absolution years. Yeah, they owned IO Interactive. Um, they
Okay.
owned the
Oh,
franchise and
yeah.
IO,
Okay.
and
So,
they're the
oh
ones that
yeah.
made the Hitman re-release release into separate episodes and seasons instead of the full game it should have been.
Yeah. IO is the one I'm thinking of
Yeah.
because people on r slash James Bond have been saying that like it if if uh if the Fleming estate ever gets its shit together and lets there be rights to another James Bond game, IO Interactive needs to be the one to make like a
Oh, dude, 100. Dude. No one could make a better James Bond game. And I know because I've played a lot of James Bond games.
no. I've played them all, and I kind of have to agree. So
Yeah, like and don't get me wrong, there's some that are okay. I still say Tomorrow Never Dies wasn't too bad. Um,
no,
but like,
I listen. I love. I actually funny story. So back when I was like a really young kid,
mhm.
and I was playing games um like my occupational therapist would actually like have me play games, and one of the things was I learned how to game off of Tomorrow Never Dies, and my mom would actually
Mm.
make me play after school with Tomorrow Never Dies.
Okay,
And
so
I
you've got a personal connection then.
yeah, so but yeah, yeah, and I mean of course I played GoldenEye
Yeah,
64 as well, but yeah, um
there were
yeah,
okay-ish PS2 games.
I mean Nightfire was pretty good.
From Russia
I
with Love
thought.
had some cool scenes.
Well, From Russia with Love was good because like for our generation that was like
It
wait,
honestly
you
was the truest experience.
well, not only that, but it was like yeah, we've all heard of Sean Connery, but wait, wait, Sean Connery, and then we all watched the Sean Connery movies and we were like, wait, this is holy shit, our parents were right. This guy actually is cool and
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
So and then and then kind of it was kind of prophetic because the James Bond video game franchise died harder than Daniel Craig's uh Bond at the end of no Bond at the end of No Time to Die.
Oh, that poor man. Oh, that poor man. Yeah,
Yeah,
no. So God, if they ever give that license or put that license on the market, they need to just give it to IO. That's just money. That's free money.
yeah, we're at like a weird stage now where like we're waiting to see well we're in two worlds. We're waiting to see what the future of the Bond movie is going to be
Yeah.
since no one knows. And then will they bring the game franchise back as well? I hope they do both, but there's just no knowing at this point.
I I think, and this is my uneducated ass, for anybody listening. This is my take on it. Make a new movie, have a new Bond,
Yeah, agreed.
and then make a game to launch alongside the movie, or rather have the game in development and prep the movie to launch alongside the game, for just figure it out however so they both launch, but have the game not be the movie, the game have the game
Yeah,
be a
I
true James Bond, pick your Bond, play through scenarios, play through classic moments as any Bond, fucking who make your own James Bond, fuck it, right?
yeah.
Like something, because then you're pushing two different stories, you're pushing two different brand recognitions, and so somebody doesn't say, "Oh, I watched the movie, I don't need to play the game," or "Oh, I played the game, I don't need to watch the movie."
Or yeah, I kind of agree with what you're saying. So the other thing, a lot of people don't know this, but there's one of the independent comics, one of the independent comic book companies, got the rights to do a monthly James Bond comic book series, and
Oh, okay.
the James Bond comic book series is based on the Fleming novels, but like
Mm.
the James Bond comic book universe kind of its own thing, right? Kind of like
Right.
how PS4 Spider-Man is kind of
Yeah.
its own thing too, right? So, and
Yeah.
that's kind of my idea of for like a James Bond is like have video game James Bond be its own thing and like and yeah, you can make like subtle nods and homages to the movies or whatever, but like you said, don't tie the two things explicitly together. Like let them
Well,
kind of be its own thing.
I'm not
So
even saying like the game should come up with its own like form on Bond. I mean, kind of can if you do something like a custom character, which should be kind of cool because I think it's either you want to play as Bond doing Bond moments or you want to live that fantasy yourself. There's a lot of that cross pollination in it, right? Because
yeah.
who doesn't want to fucking be Bond sipping martinis and fucking bitches? You know what I mean? Like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
So but the thing is like the movie works the best as a movie with a plot and a structure and everything going the way it's supposed to go for the most intense action and drama and passion. The
Right.
Hitman games are great Bond games because no matter what route you go to solve the issue of what you're doing, you can adapt, the world adapts around you, and you can still, even if you kind of fuck up a little bit, you can still kind of end it like a fucking spy, you know, it kind of
Right.
like something out of a movie.
Well,
um
and also just because of the way games are developed, you can spend way longer playing a game than you can like movies, even if they're 3 hours long, you kind of have to stick to a runtime and do something within a certain, runtime of a movie. And
yeah,
I know there is that in gaming too somewhat, but it's a lot less like time limits in gaming are just not as restrictive as they
yeah,
are in film or TV. So,
the kinds of stories you can tell in long form versus your standard cinema go is much more different. Yeah. And the thing
yeah.
is too is I think it would work better as you kind of have the game be more of a celebration because what IO does good with Hitman is it preserves its black comedy. Hitman is a
Yeah.
funny fucking game if you're listening right. If you're paying attention to the right dialogues and going the right routes and you have a certain
Yeah.
kind of ability to laugh at shit dark, it's got some and just hilarious moments of like here's this white bald dude in Mexico sitting with mariachis and they know he's not one of them, but they're too fucking scared to fucking say anything, you
Right.
know?
Or just, the fact like you can one of the things that's hilarious is like you can split past like you can like slip past like security guards just by like putting on a uniform and like
Yeah.
even while wearing a uniform of like some kind like anyone paying attention could probably know that Hitman is out of the ordinary, right?
Mhm.
But just by putting on a uniform or something, Hitman can completely just blend in.
But in the same vein, because I pushed towards this, I did suit runs. I picked a starting outfit and I stayed in that starting outfit and I did what I needed to do. I got where I needed to do and I didn't put on a single goddamn costume. I
Oh,
ghosted
real?
that motherfucker. I worked hard to ghost a lot of levels in suit only. Um
Yeah,
sometimes I need to kill for that, but
I've tried that because I have to be honest, as a guy who likes to wear suits a lot IRL, I love Hitman suit, so any excuse I can do to try and do the suit I can, but damn it, some of those levels are like fucking hard without, a suit, and I only have X amount of time in my day to play. So
exactly. And when I was playing them, I was like, all right, let me dissect all of this fucking clockwork and spend hours to figure out reaction times and how things react. Like I went hard on that game. Um and that's I
yeah,
think what makes a good game like that is that it's got to feel like a movie from beginning to end. Whether you're a professional and it's a quick scene in a movie where it's you're out there dead and you walk away cool, or it's this thing that starts out slow, burns into a gunfight with a clever fucking escape.
Yeah. No,
And for Bond, picking your Bonds and Bondish scenarios or even recreations, infinite replayability with that.
yeah. I mean, sometimes in Hitman, I just like to go and I like to go in John Wick where it's just like all guns blazing and.
Oh yeah, just walk in, dropping them. Oh, I fucking love doing that in Hitman too.
And that is one thing that like sucks in Absolution is like even while playing I was kind of like, yeah, I get why this is a gripe is in Absolution, like you get less points for not doing it stealthily, and they kind of like you don't have to do it stealthily in Absolution, but the game kind of says fuck you if you don't do it stealthily, which okay, that's not really fun if like the game's not forcing you to play a certain way, but it's kind of telling you, hey, here's how we'd like you to play.
We don't want any possibility of gunplay. There are too many guys. Go fuck yourself. Yeah.
Right.
Which is why if you play Absolution, you know how OP the knife or a screwdriver is.
Yeah.
yeah. There it is. You know exactly how OP those are. All right, motherfucker. You want me firing shots? I'm gonna drop every fucking body with the screwdriver. Watch me.
you know what was funny about that too was like I remember I accidentally discovered how OP it was on accident because I ran out of ammo, so I was like, oh fuck, I guess I'll have to kill someone with the screw
Yeah.
with the screwdriver, right? Like and here I'm thinking, I'm like, it's a screwdriver. it's not gonna do shit. And I'm like, oh.
Screwdriver is OP. And then those strategies carried over to fucking the modern Hitman, and it's like, oh god, it's so fun.
Yeah. It's just like, for shits and giggles, if Hitman Raw wanted to pay tribute to John Wick, they should make pencils OP.
Oh god, yeah, have pencils. That would be a good item. That would be a good item you could find anywhere, and you got an instant stabber right there. One hit though. It'd have to be Last of Us style.
Yeah. Or at least maybe 3 hits, since John Wick killed 3 guys in a bar.
Oh yeah, true with one.
Yeah. So, or they could do something similar on that.
Or fuck it, just have it be an invulnerable pencil. Screw it. Fuck it. It doesn't matter. None of this fucking matters. Have fun.
There's some hilarious John Wick edits of that intro where he's opening his case and he's smashing the concrete in the basement. Someone did it. Some of these YouTubers are talented. I can't find it anymore, but a few years ago there was an edit where someone did where he takes out his ammo case and his gun case and everything. And he opens it, and it's just to reveal like a whole stack of fucking, standardized number 2 pencils.
That's great.
It just like became a whole meme. So,
yeah.
But
oh man, we have gone all over the place tonight.
Oh yeah. And see, folks, you thought Vickers went all over the place. I'm worse than he.
Yeah, no, Vickers keeps things fairly on track.
So,
until you get him started talking about I don't know, Dr. Pepper or Batman, but
which by the way, I see that he's back. So, I hope Apex didn't traumatize you too much last week to the point where you were like secretly
Mr. V, you gotta come back. You motherfuckers like, dude, did you listen to that fucking episode? Man, I can't fucking take this. No,
But,
not at all. Not at all. Pure coincidence.
but yeah, no. So if you can do 2 shows now, oh geez, that'll be
We'll see. I mean, we'll see if even we're still on hiatus. I don't think there are any plans right as of yet. Things are still kind of in
yeah.
flux, and so
Yeah, well, I mean, I know he's back, but I also know that the whole internet drama thing regarding his whole clan is still kind of up in the air. It's hilarious that the people who doxed him supposedly are now like in their own shit, which I guess is kind of karma. But
you can
oh
hope it's
well.
karma. Yeah.
So, but
It's I've not I probably need to read up more on it. I've been distracted by other shit like the Kino Casino gym stuff. That's
yeah,
had my
oh
attention
yeah.
and this, that, and the other, but
I
I'm trying to keep up with it.
I can kind of fill you in afterwards if you've got
Okay.
time. So,
Yeah, a little bit.
but
But yeah.
anyway, yeah. Well, it doesn't look like we have anyone watching live anymore. But if you did make it to the end of the podcast, thanks for watching and or listening. And we'll be back next week, folks. So hopefully Apex will be back.
Hopefully.
So, but until then. See ya, and thanks for
Have a
tuning
good
in.
one.
So, alrighty.
Thanks for listening to The Whitfield Report on the NGC Network. Please visit Sam's website at www.thesamwhitfield.com and support Sam on Patreon at patreon.com/Whitfield Report. Until next time, God bless, God save this great nation, and God, freedom, legacy, in that order.